In 2017, Zach Adams was convicted of killing young nursing student Holly Bobo. Problem was, the conviction was built on a house of lies. Now we're digging into the trial. We've gotten through the state's case in chief. Now let's see what the defense does. We all know the ending, but it's a different thing to watch it happen in real time, even though it's after the fact. Let's get into it. What is up, beautiful humans? I am Bob Mata. This is Defense Diaries. This is part 15 of the Zach Adams trial for the murder of Holly Bobo back in 2017. So we're done. State's case in chief is over. I don't know how y'all feel about it. I feel certain ways about it. It's interesting. It's interesting because if you watched the recent post-conviction evidentiary hearing, it gives you a lot of context in terms of looking back on this trial. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. Because if you watch this trial when it first happened, in the way that the state presents its case, and they put a guy like Jason Autry on, sounded super convincing. Sounded like he was there. Sounded like he knew what he knew. He saw what he saw. Without having the context, that he had access to discovery for 2 years, that he had a huge hit staring him in the face in terms of a prison bid, and that he had all the incentive in the world to lie when he's the key witness for the state, the star witness for the state. Without that context, you can see how he gets convicted. It's how everybody gets convicted. They get convicted on a narrative. It's a narrative conviction. And it's a narrative case. When you don't have evidence, but you have a strong narrative, and I'm talking about the state, you get convictions because people in that jury box want to convict the person sitting at the table. They want to believe that that person is the one who did it. And they want to believe that because it's the police that we're supposed to trust and the prosecutors that we're supposed to trust are telling us that that's who did it. Therein lies the rub. Therein lies the rub. It'll be a never-ending battle for me, for other freedom fighters out there, trying to convince some people that they get it wrong sometimes. There are actually people that exist on this planet that don't believe that they ever get it wrong. As ridiculous as that seems, it's fact. There are people on this planet, in this country, in other countries, that are under the bizarre delusion that law enforcement gets it right every single time. What a battle that sets up to be, right? For the golden years of my life, I'll be in these streets fighting this fight. But you guys all make it worthwhile. You guys all make it worthwhile. The converted. Because like I always say, there is not a comment that I love more when I'm looking at replay chat or live chat, wherein people are telling me that things that Allie and I have said in our coverage, in our lives, has completely changed their outlook on things. I mean, how humbling that is for us and inspiring. It inspires us to keep going. So thank you guys for that. All right. Like I said, we just wrapped with the state's case in chief. Zach's attorney, Jennifer, put a some kind of motion for a directed finding or whatever they call it in Tennessee. Judge, of course, rejected that without the state even having to make argument. It was a hot bench moment. And now we are going to see what, if any, defense Zach Adams' lawyer puts on for him. Let's get started. Let's check it out. Let's see what's what.
Raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony about the evidence is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Be seated, state your first, in the witness chair, state your first and last name, and spell it for the court reporter.
Rita Austin, Rita Austin.
And Ms. Austin, are you related to Shayne Kyle Austin?
Yes, Jimmy Austin and I, Rita Austin, have a son named Shayne Kyle Austin.
Okay. And can you tell us, back in April of 2011, where was your son living?
Shayne was living at 30 Yellow Springs Road in Holiday, Tennessee.
And where was that? What kind of residence was
It is
that?
a trailer about 2 miles away from our house at 790 Pew Road.
Can you speak up just a little, because your voice is trailing off?
Okay.
Where do you live?
I live at 790 Pew Road, and Shayne lived at 30 Yellow Springs Road, which is about 2 miles away.
Okay. And his residence, how did he come to live in that trailer? How did you come to own it?
Jimmy and I purchased this trailer to move him out of our house into his own residence.
Okay. And what about the items at the house?
Me and his dad.
Okay. And so are you familiar with the items he had at that house?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So tell me about quilts that Shayne would have had at that house. Can you tell the jury about that?
Shayne wouldn't have had any quilts at that house. He moved in the last week of March of 2011 in his bedroom at my house at 790 Pew Road. He slept with an air conditioning running pretty much year round. So he did not have a quilt. And, all of my quilts are at home, and he got everything from our house. He didn't go out and buy anything. He didn't have any money to buy anything, so to speak.
Okay. And tell the jury about a burn barrel that would have been at that trailer.
Shayne didn't have a burn barrel at his trailer. The way that we did his garbage, my son-in-law worked for a cooling tower company, and they brought a brute container that had a lock and top on it, and it was put at the foot of the trailer where that hitch lock is, and it was put right there and had a top on it. His neighbors had dogs, and so that was what we did. And we live in the country, rural country, and we don't have any garbage service. So me and my husband, Jimmy, would pick up his garbage when we took our garbage out and away.
Okay.
Which way am I supposed to look?
That's fine. Yes, look at the jury.
Okay,
and it's a balance with that microphone being too close, and it kind of gives a little bit of a puff too far away, and it's hard to hear.
Yep. Okay. Okay. If I'm not doing good, tell me.
Okay. And then let me direct your attention to the property, the driveway. Did the driveway have a gate?
No, the driveway did not have a gate at that time. We did put a gate and a fence up, and it was June of 2011 after we bought Shayne a puppy.
Okay, and then it's another background matter. Would you tell the jury about your mother, Juanita Hickerson?
My mother is Juanita Hickerson. She passed away on March 11th of 2011. Shirley King, which is Jason's mother, is my sister. That was our mother, Juanita Hickerson, that passed away March of 2011.
And where was her property located?
Her property was 820 Yellow Springs Road, which was probably about a mile from Shayne's trailer on Yellow Springs Road. If you were going to the interstate, it would be hooking around going toward Bible Hill Road.
Okay. Next, I'd like to switch topics and direct you towards Shayne's appearance in the spring of 2011. Would you tell the jury what Shayne looked like in the spring of 2011?
Shayne had a motorcycle wreck in 2009, in April of 2009. He had some really bad scars on his face. He wrecked into a tree, and he wasn't wearing a helmet, and he was airlifted to Vanderbilt, and he had a scar kind of like right below the wreck. Actually tore through this area. He had a lot of stitches into this area out to the corner of his mouth. So
Can I interrupt you? When you say this area, I know you're pointing, but for the record, will you use words to describe that area?
Okay. It was a thick red raised scar. Thick red raised, not real well fixed, because it was a accident that really mangled that area up on this part of his face. So most of the time, or pretty much, no, all of the time, he wore a goatee to try to help camouflage this. He was very self-conscious about that scar on his face.
And when you were pointing to where the scar was, you're pointing to here. Use a word to describe where here is.
Right up above the corner of his mouth, kind of out toward the cheek area. You know, it kind of went down and out to about right here. Went out toward the cheek and toward the jaw area, just halfway between the cheek and the chin area.
And what about his eye?
Oh, that was even worse. On this same wreck he had in April of 2009, it crushed his orbital socket, and it also crushed this bone right here in the nose area. So his nose was kind of flattened out, and this eye socket, and that also clipped a nerve in his eye. They repaired that the first night when we were at Vanderbilt. They repaired that tear in that tendon. But subsequently, he had 2 more surgeries on this eye, trying to build enough tissue to hold the eye correctly in the socket. But it didn't ever get where it was okay. And what happened is, when you looked at Shayne, you'd see a defect. He had beautiful blue eyes, but it was defected. His eyelid hung down enough that you could see the white underneath his eye. You could see that all the time. And anybody that looked at him, that would be one of the first things that you noticed, is his eye wasn't right. I've even had a friend ask me.
No objection to your saying. Okay, it's not important what the friend said.
Okay.
Let me ask you about the goatee. You mentioned a goatee. Did he have a goatee in April of 2011?
Yes, we have some pictures that had that in it. Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you about Shayne's transportation, his truck. In April, around April the 13th of 2011, what kind of transportation did Shayne have?
Shayne didn't have any working transportation. He had a truck parked behind his house. And if you could ever believe this story, it's another last week of March of 2011. Shayne had a Chevy S10 truck. He was coming home from 641, going toward his house at 30 Yellow Springs Road. He lost control. He spun the truck around and slammed into a telephone pole. That messed the whole frame of the truck up. It drove the passenger side, and at the bed of the truck, it hit between the passenger and the tailgate. Drove that chair on the passenger side all the way in to the console on the passenger side. Because he hit that like that, the top of the telephone pole broke in half and hit the top of the cab and messed the cab up. They got the truck off of the telephone pole, and it was like it was driving sideways down the road. He got it over to his trailer, parked it behind his trailer, and that's where the truck was. People searching for.
Well, let me,
Okay.
before we get to that,
Okay.
about the truck. How do you know, though, that since it didn't drive well, but it could move, how do you know that he wasn't driving it at that time?
We took the keys away from him. Shayne wasn't in a good place, and that truck drove sideways, and it was dangerous for him to get out in that truck that wouldn't drive. So we had a set to, and we took the keys away. And we also had an FBI agent visit us during that time, and I went into the safe in our room and produced that set of keys for him to see.
Okay, and so did Shayne have access to your house during this time?
He never had keys to my house. He didn't have keys to any of our vehicles. He did not even have a key to the door. Like I
Okay.
said, people that are not in good places don't have access to, he never. From the time he was 16 years old, we bought vehicles that didn't require major, they just required insurance on them, and all this was
Okay,
insurance. Okay.
I'm going to object as to relevance. It's
Okay.
10 years after.
I think it was volunteered, but.
I understand.
He didn't drive any of our vehicles.
Okay.
Ms.
that's
Officer,
fine.
listen to the questions, make your response. If you feel you need to explain, you're allowed to do so, but listen to the questions, just respond, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about Yellow Springs Church. Can you please tell the jury about Yellow Springs United Methodist Church? Where is it located?
Yellow Springs Church is on Yellow Springs Road. It's set right in the corner. Pew Road comes up, and Yellow Springs Church is right in the corner of that road.
Okay.
If you come up the hill, you would be at Yellow Springs Church. One road goes one way. It's in the corner of Pew
Okay.
Road and Yellow Springs Road.
Okay, and did anything in particular take place at Yellow Springs Church on Thursday, April the 14th?
Yes, it did. I went to pick up Shayne to take him to work at 2:30 in the afternoon on the 14th. And when I started coming up the hill, there were cars everywhere. There were school buses there. And they had set up a command search post for Holly Bobo.
Okay. I'd like to move on then to your nephew, Jason Autry. Can you tell me about Jason's paternal grandmother?
Paternal yes. Jason, his grandmother is Judy Autry.
Say that again.
Judy, S-U-D-I-E, Autry.
Okay.
She is a sister to Ruby Bobo.
Okay.
Gary's daddy and Dana Bobo are first cousins. So
How would that make him related to Holly Bobo then?
third cousins. She'd be a second cousin to Gary and a third cousin to Jason.
Okay. And would Jason have known this information?
Yes, he
No,
would. Yes, he would.
I'm going to object to speculation unless she absolutely knows that he knows. I mean, that's,
Okay.
Okay, well, I absolutely know that he knows.
Okay. And then have you visited Jason Autry since he's been charged in this case?
We began, I don't know for sure if he was charged in this case, but he was in jail in Decatur County, and we went to visit him every week. Some of our family, it not be me every time, but every week we went to see him at the jail. Sometimes we'd even take Isabel Hickerson, his great aunt.
Okay. And then after that, did you continue to see him once he went to Nashville?
He got transferred first to Dyersburg, and Jason told us that he didn't think that he would be there very long. And then he got transferred to River Bend, and then we began to visit him at River Bend prison. And we did, when we got approved for a visit, we went.
Okay. And then while there, was there anything in particular that you took note of while you would visit Jason?
One time when we visited Jason, he had a copy of a report about some pink underwear. And I was elated. He stuck it up on the window, and I was elated that that he had this report because it said none of the.
Objection.
Okay.
Okay, so,
I don't think it's really an issue. We've had other testimonies, so let's
right,
kind of get.
okay, but that was some evidence in this case?
Yes, it was.
And were there other times that he shared evidence in this case with you?
Only that same time he told us that she had been shot. And he.
No, I'm going to object to what he told her. It's hearsay. I'm not objecting to what she said or saw or witnessed, like the report.
What Jason said to her is hearsay.
But Your Honor, I'm not trying to offer it for the truth of the matter. I'm trying to offer it to show that Jason had knowledge, that he was in possession of discovery in this case. I'd asked Jason specifically, and he had denied some of that. And so this is some impeachment. One, it's impeachment. And two, it goes to show his knowledge, not whether or not it's true. I'm not offering it for the truth of what was said.
I think that's exactly what he testified to here, but go ahead and answer.
Okay, so
He told us that she had been shot through the back of the head and the bullet come out on the right side, right under her right eye. He said at the scene there was 3 bullet casings, a .308, a .380, and a
I think we've
.410.
gone far enough.
Okay.
You know, what discovery he shared with them.
Okay.
We can spend the rest of the afternoon, probably. It just shows he's getting discovery through his attorneys. The only thing that shows. Okay,
Yes.
let's go.
and so the Greenway under the Interstate 40 bridge, have you ever been there?
Yes, we walk our dogs at different places. The river and under this Tennessee River Bridge, it's very beautiful area.
And how would you describe that area?
It's a national refuge, and you come in a 1-lane road into the refuge area, and you drive around a body of water, and then you go over a body of water that's called tie yard. I don't know if you're a fisherman, but that's tie yard. And then you go on following the road, and you go out to the main channel of the river, and that's the riverbank where we walked most of the time with our dogs.
Okay, and this tie yard, what's the water like there in the tie yard?
Well, we didn't walk near, you have to cross over this, okay? There's a spillway and you have to cross over it to go on into the river. But it's grown up, it's got big rip-rappy rocks around it, and it's all grown up except a little place where you can pull in and people fish there. They go in there and fish. It's a really good fishing area. And even Shayne and Jimmy fish there. It's not even, so that water is backwater, dark, dank looking water. It's not fresh water.
Okay, and then we've heard some talk about Shayne and Shayne's suicide. Can you please tell the jury kind of some of the surrounding facts regarding Shayne's suicide? Let's start with his drug issues.
In February 23rd, 2015, Shayne took his life. He was down in Florida trying to work and get his life straight. He was working on cooling towers. He began using drugs again. He was making $1,500 a week. And when we got his bank account, he didn't have but $200. So he was using a lot of drugs. And my son-in-law was his boss, and he fired him on Tuesday. He'd give him all kinds of chances trying to help him. And on Tuesday, he fired him. And Josh was going to bring him to the airport on Saturday. And Shayne was so messed up at the airport that he didn't get on the plane with his plane ticket that we purchased. And so when he called us, before he lost his phone, he called us very messed up, very.
And I don't want you to say what he said to you when he called you,
Okay.
but kind of what happened after that?
Shayne went back to the hotel where they had been staying, and he was mad. He was mad at Josh. He kind of kicked in some of the air conditioning stuff. The hotel man was called to do something with him, and Josh begged him to take him to jail. He said, please just take him to jail. And the man wouldn't do it. Shayne had been down there for a month or more working and renting, and he said he would not press charges. So Josh loaded him up and took him to another motel and paid for it and told him to get in there and stay in there. And then we were in the process of going to rescue him, and we got down there and he was dead. He was in his room locked in, and he was dead.
Okay. But he had a long struggle with drugs. Is that right?
Absolutely. A long struggle with drugs.
And his struggle with drugs, did that begin before or after Holly Bobo disappeared?
No, it didn't begin just when she disappeared. He's had a history since he was 16 years old in high school, on and off. He got clean, and we had 8 good months before he went to work with Josh. And then when he went to work, I said he does really well if you don't have any money, but he went to work with him and he got a hold of money and he started right back using again.
Okay. Okay. If I could have just one moment.
Cross.
Jake's material, please.
I don't have any written reports.
I'm Jennifer Nichols. I spoke to you in the hall, but I'm
Right.
not sure if you knew who I was.
Right.
Listening to you talk about Shayne, it's fair to say that this drug problem had very much affected yours and Miss Ross's life.
Absolutely.
And in fact, you remember after Holly disappeared when Aaron and Dana,
I surely do.
Anthony
I surely do.
came to your house to
Yes.
talk about it?
We let him in, just,
And you know, by that time, Shayne's name was already out there.
Yes, it
And as
was.
being a suspect in this.
yes, it was.
And you told Karen that you had to move, you had to buy that trailer and move him into that trailer because of the people and the drugs that he was bringing into your house.
Exactly.
And that's not the way you raised him.
No. He had a silver spoon in his mouth.
So to get that element, those people that you didn't approve of and those drugs out of your house, you bought that trailer.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and clarify that. I didn't speak about his friends that did drugs. I said we had to get Shayne out of our house and get the drugs out of our house.
So you weren't worried about the people he was hanging around with?
And really, he didn't bring those people to my house.
Okay, well, that sort of carries me to my next one. Now,
Okay.
you said he doesn't have a burn barrel. It sounded like the detective to burn barrel. But you have to agree with me that Shayne.
You need to back up just a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Shayne kept things from you and your husband.
He kept things, but we went over there to get his garbage, just like we did ours. And
So that's a yes with an explanation. Yes, he kept things from you, but yes, you believe you would have seen a burn barrel.
I know I would have seen a burn barrel.
You would have seen that burn barrel if the burn barrel had been in the front yard of the trailer.
I would have seen the burn barrel.
Would you have seen the meth in his house?
I saw it at my house, so sure I would have. I mean,
Would you have seen him cooking it?
no, he didn't cook it to my knowledge in my house.
So if he did cook it, that's something he didn't do in front of you.
That is right. He did not cook meth in front of me.
You know that he was hanging out with Zachary Adams, right?
Yes, I do.
You know that he was hanging out with Zachary Adams' brother.
Yes, I do.
In fact, he was particularly close to Dylan Adams.
I think he liked Dylan Adams, yes.
And when all this happened and Shayne's name got out there, you and your husband took measures to try and help him, right? As any parent would.
Absolutely. We got concerned about this.
I mean, your son was a suspect in the kidnapping.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was a suspect, sure.
Your son was a suspect in the kidnapping, the rape, and the murder of Holly Bobo.
Now, when we first was acknowledged, it wasn't rape and murder. It was in her kidnapping. We knew it from the time that his name was associated with the kidnapping. Now, this rape and murder stuff came a lot later, but we was well aware that his name was.
And I'm not trying to trick you. Because
Okay.
as the case progressed, you did know that Shayne was a suspect in both the rape and the murder, just like he was in the kidnapping.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I mean. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm
No,
trying
I
to-
just want to be as honest as I can be. I
Gotcha.
want this to be done.
And you and your husband got an attorney for him, didn't you?
We didn't get an attorney until 2014,
Okay, my question was, you and your husband got an attorney for him.
not till
Didn't
2014.
ask when.
Well, that's too bad.
Really?
Really?
Okay, so you and your husband got an attorney, didn't you?
Yes, in
There you go.
2014.
And his name is Luke Evans, correct?
That is right.
He's a family member of y'all's, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Luke Evans negotiated with the DA at the time assigned to that case.
Yes.
I'm going to object unless she has specific knowledge.
Sorry, she just said yes, so.
And in fact, there were times when you were present at those meetings, correct?
I was never present with Luke Evans and Shayne Austin in any kind of discussions. Never.
Did you become aware that your son provided information to the district attorney's office about, let me finish, about the kidnapping, the rape, and the murder of Holly Bobo?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. May we approach?
Thank you, GA Cat Mom, for the gift.
I'm aware that your son
Understand.
provided information to the district attorney's office regarding the kidnapping, rape, and murder of Holly Bobo.
I know that Shayne and his lawyer had a meeting with the district attorney's office. What information he provided, I don't know.
You recognize his handwriting, though, didn't you?
Absolutely.
I hand you a document. That's your son's handwriting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'm going to ask you to review, but don't read aloud.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
It's Shayne's writing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Have you ever seen this piece of paper before?
No, I have not.
Did you ever discuss these things with your son?
No, he had told me from day one.
Objection.
Sorry, your side.
No, he did not. He didn't ever say that he knew anything about this case to me.
And yet you just read 5 things in his handwriting to show you otherwise.
Well, it doesn't show. I mean, you have to know what the questions was on that. You have to know the situation before you know he.
You don't want to answer that question, do you, Ms. Holston?
Well, why don't you clarify where that was at and how he said he knew these things? Is that what you're saying, that he knew these things?
It's his handwriting, isn't it?
Did it say he knew those things?
That's my
Your
question.
Honor, I object. Her question is confusing.
That document is hearsay, so much of it.
His writing, right?
Absolutely.
At the time of Shayne's death, you very honestly told the jury that he was in a bad place.
Right.
That's not the first time he's been in a bad place, though.
No, it was not.
And you said that it had been off and on since he was 16.
That's right.
Um, Would you agree with me that Holly abduction and rape and murder haunted him?
Objection.
No,
Let her answer the question.
no, I would not say it did because he vehemently said he knew nothing about it and he knew nothing about that. That's why we didn't hire a lawyer till 2014. He says he's innocent of all this, and I believe that.
And so that's what he told you.
That's right.
And yet I just shared with you a document of his handwriting, not going to get into what's in it, but you see something different, don't you?
I see,
Yes or no?
I see, no,
Your Honor,
I-
I object to this.
She is entitled to a yes or no answer, and then if she wants to explain.
okay, well, I'm going to say no then because I
This
want to.
doesn't change anything for you?
I want to say no because you haven't told me where he made those statements or where he wrote those statements. You don't have to tell me, you don't have to tell everybody what the statement says. Just tell me, it was this, I confess to this. I mean,
Yeah, context matters. What a great witness. What a great witness. Like, this is what the state does. They cherry pick shit. They leave all the context out in terms of the circumstances under which that statement was made. Way to go. Way to go.
Did he confess to that? I mean, you have to tell me the contents of what's on that paper. Not the content, so to speak, but the situation involved with those statements.
May I please see the document that District Attorney was,
She has it, Judge.
well, I don't know specifically.
It was recited in Decatur County one
Yes.
time, and that's what I'm thinking.
It
And
is.
it's hearsay at this point.
And for the record, Your Honor, we actually got it from defense counsel of Shayne Austin at that time, so I have it.
Now, this is a perfect example. As I am watching this for the first time, like many of you, and I know that obviously we have many that have watched the trial through previously. If the judge shuts her down, and I'm talking about Rita, from being able to get into the context of under which this was made, that then becomes Jennifer Thompson's job on cross-examination. So I'll be curious to see if she does the job, because what she's saying is true. Nichols is trying to get this shit in, oh, well, look, he confessed here in this statement, this written statement, hoping that she'll just say, well, yeah, he did, without giving anything else in a vacuum. That doesn't matter. It's not worth the paper it's written on. But it's effective to a jury. Therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem. If this doesn't get addressed on cross, and I don't care what happens here on the rest of direct, it has to get addressed on cross. I want Zach's attorney to flesh it out, to give Rita the opportunity to expand on what she was saying, why context matters to her, why that didn't change her opinion as to whether or not she believed her son. Because if they just let it hang here in the ether, the jury's going to be like, oh, well, she's just a mom who doesn't want to believe that her son's a monster or capable of this. And that's what they'll take from it.
Those are facts not in evidence, Your Honor.
Yeah, what?
She's arguing facts not in evidence.
I'm not arguing about what's written.
Let's get on with this.
You remember after Holly disappeared that the searches and whatnot were all up and down that road, right?
Yes, I do.
Most people's property that lived all around there.
Oh, yeah, I misspoke. I completely forgot. We're in the defense's case in chief. So this is cross. So on redirect, that's when Thompson has to fix it. And that's a perfect opportunity to do it, because on redirect, you can give a more narrative type answer. You can't go into a full-blown narrative, but you can certainly give a more thought out, reasoned answer that isn't limited to a yes or no answer. So excuse me, I completely forgot we were in the defense case in chief. I was still state case.
There are people going through it, right?
Yes.
Including Shayne's, the property surrounding Shayne's trailer.
Now, I know that the searchers were on every road around us. So yes, I would say yes. I know that Shayne's property was specifically searched on the 17th of April with a dog team present.
And TBI sort of moved on, but they came back and started asking questions again a few years later. about
Yes,
Shayne, correct?
yes.
And it was at that time that your husband painted inside, outside of that trailer with lead paint, right?
The outside is not painted with lead paint. We didn't touch that trailer until 2014. We decided that we may have to sell that to get money to defend him when it came back that they were starting to look at him again. And we decided at that point, we probably better be getting a lawyer. Up until that point, we thought, we don't need to get a lawyer.
Shayne went to coon hunt Saturday before Holly's disappearance, didn't he?
Well, I didn't take him there. I did not take him there. And I did not see him there. And I worked that morning in the fish booth.
But you know he admitted to being there at the coon hunt.
Okay.
Objection, she doesn't have.
I don't have proof that he went. I didn't see him there.
So doing the drugs, cooking the meth, going to the coon hunt, there are a lot of things that you didn't know about his life.
Yes, that's correct.
The night before Holly was kidnapped, you took Shayne to the Double D to play cards and have some beers with his friends.
Yes, Shayne didn't drive anywhere, and we took him there every week to play cards. They played Texas Hold'em on Wednesday night. My husband was working that night, and he ended up picking him up on the way home. And yes, I did.
And you said on the day that she disappeared, you picked him up from his trailer at 2:30 in the afternoon.
No, that was Thursday,
That's the day after.
the day
The
after.
day that the church. I think. you
Yes,
said that
that's the
before.
day after. She disappeared on a Wednesday, and I took him to cards that night at, I would say, 6 o'clock, between 6 and 6:30. I think I made him a hamburger, took that to him, and he ate it, and I took him on down to the bar.
Okay, just one moment.
Sure.
You were asked a number of questions about your sort of relatives and whatnot. Your mother had a barn across the street from the house, right?
Yes.
And that
Yes, she
barn-
did.
And in 2011, that barn was in pretty bad shape, wasn't it?
Yes, it was standing, but it was not in great shape, no.
By 2014, 15, it was gone.
I think actually in 2013,
So by 2014 or 15, it was gone.
yes, sorry.
Um, It was 2014 when things started heating back up. You said you painted the trailer because they were coming back around asking Shayne questions and asking everybody questions about Shayne.
Right.
No, that's not what she said.
I
She's right there, it's not.
2014 is, actually, we didn't touch that trailer until 2014. That sat there with Shayne living in it on and off. And 2014, we decided that I'm probably going to have some money to pay for a lawyer.
Do you remember if that was at the first part of 2014 or the last part?
It was at the first part of 2014 that we started work on the trailer, and I think we didn't get a lawyer for Shayne until like April or May of 2014, somewhere, I think April, but I'm not positive of that date.
And so sometime after you got that lawyer, though you weren't present, you know, there were meetings between the lawyer, who's actually
He only had one meeting with the lawyer. Shayne flew in from he flew in from Scranton, Pennsylvania. We picked him up at the airport and we took him to Luke Evans's office. And that was the only time that I know that he met with Luke
So you
Evans.
picked him up and took him there, but you just didn't go in.
We weren't allowed to. They were TBI agents. Okay.
And there was law enforcement present, correct?
There were TBI agents there.
That's what I
Okay.
mean by law.
Okay. TBI agents. I'm going to tell you, I'm not real familiar with this
But you're
stuff.
doing
so-
fine. So do you remember, was that in April or May, or was that after this meeting?
You probably have a copy of that agreement. I do not know the exact date that was made. I want to say March. He left going on a job, and they was calling him on the telephone before. Well, I tell you what. Do you know which day that was? If they searched that property out at Dick Adams' house that last time.
Was it close in time to that?
Yeah, and the reason it being, it snowed and it froze everything up. And Shayne told the TBI agents, "Hey, I'm leaving out on Monday to go to work."
Right, hearsay, you can't say what
Okay.
she said.
So it was, my question was, it was close in time to the search at Dick Adams.
It was after the search at Dick Adams.
And you're saying Dick Adams, Zach Adams has a house there too, right? The top, right?
Dick and Zach have a house side by side.
All right. So is it fair to say that from the time you were concerned enough to get your trailer ready to maybe sell, get him a lawyer, that the heat was never off between that time in 2014 and when your son took his life in February of 2015?
I would say that they were questioned. Yeah, I would get. Let's see. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, they
Repeat
remained
that. Repeat that,
from
please.
that time forward until your son took his life.
Okay.
TBI was still interested in not only Shayne, but in Zach Adams, fellow looking at me, and Dylan Adams, and Jason Autry.
Well, I can't answer what they were looking at with them, but after Shayne did his immunity agreement, they said they were going to arrest him. They didn't come and arrest him. And after that immunity agreement, they left him alone.
They said they were going to arrest him.
Yeah, on the television. It was on the television saying that they would give us notice when they come to arrest him. Oh, okay. Okay,
And then
but they didn't come.
the drug usage got worse, correct?
No, actually, for the last part of 2014, he went away to work. And
It
then,
got worse.
when he went back at Christmas of let me get that right. When he come in at Christmas, I suspected he was using drugs, but he left again in January, going back to Tampa, Florida to work. And we hoped when he got back to work that he would be okay. But he started using again in November of 2014.
That's when you started suspecting it.
Right. Well, that was when I thought so. Yes.
So my question was, and the drug use got worse at the end of 2014 until.
And beginning in 2015, I would say it's escalated. Yes.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Okay.
Further direct,
No, Your Honor.
right, step down. Please don't discuss your testimony with anyone.
Okay.
How are your names?
She can stay in the courtroom, right?
If you want, yes. Yes.
We'd like to call Judy Evans.
Raise your right hand, please. Tell me where the testimony you're about.
Well, there you go. There you go. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I mean, if you look at the entirety of that cross-examination and you were to think what might be the biggest point that was made by the state, and it would have to be Rita saying, well, my son said he had nothing to do with it, and I believed him. And then Nichols presents her with a written confession of sorts and says, well, you've seen this now, right? Does that just change your opinion? She says, well, no. Because I don't know the context. I don't understand what was going on leading up to that. To not address that in front of a jury is a huge issue. Yeah, I mean, this is a great point, and it's true. And we saw it. If you've watched the post-conviction hearing that spanned months, when Thompson got on the stand, I mean, she owned it. She owned it. That she did not do the job, that she wasn't competent, she was ineffective for various reasons. I've said it once, and I'll say it a million times. For an attorney, because it's one thing to fall on the sword for your clients, whether it be on appeal, whether it be post-conviction, whatever the case may be. If it comes up and subsequent counsel reaches out to you, say, hey, I'm handling your former client's post-conviction or appeal. No, we need your help. Most defense attorneys will gladly fall on the sword for their client. But Thompson here went above and beyond to the detriment of her practice. Because, I mean, if you're to look her up and kind of see what her history is, she's well respected. It's like Dr. Spurko was on, and she's you know, what she knows of this attorney, she knows that she's competent, that she's a good attorney. She's viewed as a very good defense attorney, which just wasn't present here. You know, and the external factors that existed in this case in terms of pressure to get this case solved, to get a conviction or 2 or 3 in the books was immense. And it filtered its way down to this woman who was browbeat to no end, to the extent that it affected her ability to be able to effectively advocate for her client. And she said all these things. I mean, she laid it all out there during this hearing, again, to the true detriment to her business. It's what she does for a living. It's how she pays her bills. Like, these cases aren't fairy tales or nightmares. They're real life, real people. Careers at stake, lives and freedom at stake. I think that sometimes folks tend to forget that when we watch these things on our couch or listen to it while we're gardening because we're interested in it. I think that sometimes we lose sight of the fact that these are real lives involved. And even when you think, well, yeah, duh, Bob, I don't think what's taken into consideration is the impact that it has on people and their lives. Huge amounts of people. Everybody that testified in this trial still talks about it to this day. I guarantee it. For those directly impacted, whether it be any of the defendants, the Bobo family, it's all consuming every day of their lives. You know, I think people lose sight of that sometimes. And I would have addressed it by giving her the opportunity to explain what she meant. What do you mean context? Why would that matter to you? When you say you read this statement that was either spoken by or written by your son, who had previously been denying any knowledge of what happened that day, and certainly was denying that he was in any way responsible. What do you mean by the context matters under which that thing that you read, which is clearly some kind of confession, what do you mean by that? How does that impact what happened previous? Why would that change the way that you view that document? You have to give her the opportunity to get into that, because it's educating the jury. The jury may not even be thinking of that. I mean, it's really easy when you, especially in a narrative case. Again, this is not a case built on powerful evidence, circumstantial or direct. This is a case built on a narrative, a story that was woven together by the state. And when you have that situation, you, as the defense attorney, have to provide context. You have to show these are cherry-picked facts that were pulled out from various areas and plugged into our narrative in order for us to have a cohesive story. So if you don't attack these cherry-picked facts by way of providing the context, the full story, the beginning, the middle, and the end of where that fact came from, you're letting the state go through their entire case unchallenged in terms of that theory, in terms of that narrative. You know, it's no different than attacking a piece of evidence. If it's forensic evidence, you hire an expert. You have your expert conduct testing, and then you attack it like that. When it's a narrative, it's no different. You have to have your witnesses counter and challenge the narrative. And Rita did a wonderful job, and Thompson let her down. I'm sure if I were to ask Rita today, would you have liked if Jennifer Thompson would have asked you to explain what you meant by needing to know the context in which that statement was made? She would say, hell yeah, of course. You know, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Be seated, state your first and last name and spell your name for the court reporter.
Judy Evans, Judyevans.
And Ms. Evans, how are you related to Shayne Kyle Austin?
Shayne is my nephew. Rita is my sister.
Okay, and
Oh, I missed her name. What's her name? Give it to me in chat, y'all. TBI means Shayne write down every rumor he'd heard, and that's what Nichols passed the witness. Well, that's even worse. That's even worse, KDR, because pretend I'm a juror. I don't know all the facts of this case. You know what I thought it was? Because obviously it wasn't read out loud. Nichols was very careful to make sure that it wasn't discussed what it was. And my takeaway was that it was a confession. What do you think the jury's takeaway was? I don't know. Makes my point even more strongly.
are you also related to Jason Autry?
Yes, Shirley King is also my sister, so they're both my nephews.
Okay. Can we talk about your mother's property at 820 Yellow Springs Road?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay, who owns that property now?
I do.
Okay, and who owned it in April of 2011?
In April, I'll just start back with the situation. My mother passed away in March of 2011, and there were four of us. I've got another sister too, and we were all supposed to share the estate equally. So we got together, and it was decided that they got other things, and I wanted to buy the house and the acreage that was across the road. Okay, and so at that time, I was getting a loan to buy their part.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point, though. I know that's why she did it. I mean, that was my takeaway, which really exposes Thompson's failure even more clearly to me.
Of it. There was some money that I'd had to pay them to buy them out of that property. So I had been to the bank, and there was a loan in process for me to get the money to give to them to get it over into my name. So
Okay.
that was the deal on that.
Okay, and at that time, did you have any involvement in the property? April 13th, on April 13th?
I did,
2011?
yeah. My horses, I've got two horses, and they had been over there, I don't know how many years, but
Cool.
several. I kept them over there. I rode horses at one time, and I would go over there every afternoon because no one was living there anymore. My mother died, so I didn't move. There was a reason I didn't move. I wasn't ready to, right? I had to get the money to get the place, and also I was going on a vacation. I was going to Mount Everest, so I was not going to move until I made that trip. So that was going to happen sometime later on in the summer. So I didn't move, but I did go over there and check on the horses and feed them every day, usually, sometimes after school or before dark at different times. But I
Okay.
would go over there and feed them.
And were you there on April the 13th, 2011?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about the property and the buildings that are on the property?
Okay. Well, there's a house, of course, that's on, if you're going, I don't know which side of the road it would be on. If you're coming from the church, the house is on the left side. And on the right side is the pastures, okay? And over there was, at that time, 2 buildings, okay? One building that was by the road was a tractor shed, sort of. It was. My father backed his tractor up underneath it. And then on that same shed, the tractor shed, there was like 2 stalls. That's where the horses would go in and eat. And if I kept the feed in that little room that was right there where they went in. So that was one of the buildings. The other building was a big building that sat, you could see it from the road, and it was in really bad shape. And it was, some people call it a barn, but what it was at one point, probably back in the 70s, my father raised pigs. And so that building was made to hold corn. So it was just a corn crib, okay? I don't know if y'all know what that is, but that's just a big building that's made out of wood, and it would there was 2 holes cut out in the top where you could put a grain elevator in there, and you could scoop the corn onto the grain elevator and get it over into that. So that it didn't have any partitions in it or anything. It was just, if you looked into it, there was 2 doors, and you just see in there. It was just wide open. There was not anything that you couldn't see if you opened that door or either of the doors. It would show you the same thing. You just look in, and everything that was in there, you would be able to see. So.
Okay, what kind of condition was it in?
It was in really bad condition. I don't know when he stopped raising hogs. I don't remember. I went in the military in 1982, and I don't know after that when exactly he stopped. But in 2011, it wasn't in good shape because nothing had ever been put back in it. I think when he quit raising hogs, he didn't do anything else with that. And I don't know that he could have, because it was raised up. The floor was made of wood, and it was raised up just a little bit like that, I guess, where the corn wouldn't be right on the ground or something like that. But anyway, and the tin had come off the top of it. Rain had went into it all those years and rotted out a lot of the spots on the floor. And also there was a tree growing up through there. So it really wasn't in good shape at all, but it was standing there in April of 2011.
Okay, and at some point you heard about Holly Bobo disappearing.
I did.
Okay, and did you ever search this property?
Yes, I did. And that would have been on Friday, and I guess that would be April the 15th. Friday, I work as a school teacher, and the director of schools let students go search if they wanted to. And that day, I also guess that I heard it on the radio or maybe the news or something that the law enforcement was asking people to go look on their property. So I said, yeah, well, I'll do that, sure. And so that afternoon, I went over there, and actually, I called my sister. I said, I'm going over. I called it my mother's place. I'm going over to Mama's, and I want to look over there. And she said, well, I'll go, so I'll just meet you. So we went.
Which sister is this?
That's Rita Austin, yes.
Okay.
And so we went over there. She met me there, and we went into the house, and nothing was disturbed in there. It was just like it was the last time I opened the door on it. And then we come on the outside, and we're getting ready to go across the road over there where all those buildings were, or those 2, not all, sorry. The 2 buildings are. We were going across the street, and I looked up the road toward Hoheimer Road, and there were people coming, and those were the searchers. There were a lot of people searching, I guess, just out. I guess they were organized searches. I don't know. I remember there were just a lot of people, okay, and they were over in the field, and some people were in the road, and then others were on the side of the road where my house was, walking, toward wherever we were. They were looking. And so they come on, and I stood there. You can see everything across the road from the edge of the driveway. I was standing there, and I watched and actually spoke to some of them. I recognized some of the people that were out there, and they looked inside that corn crib / barn, and there were 2 people that opened both of the doors, and they looked in and shut it back, and they just carried on, and that was that. They also looked in there where the horse feed was, and I guess they walked around in front of the tractor to see that too. I don't remember that, but I'm sure they did that. And then they went on down the road toward the Yellow Springs Church. And then she and I went over there, and I threw the horses some feed. And then we walked over there to that corn crib. I opened up the doors and looked in, and I didn't see anything either. It looked exactly like it always did. I mean, it was falling down. It was the same thing. I didn't notice anything disturbed in there. And then we shut it back, and that was it. And then I I guess I went home after that.
Now, if somebody had been screaming in the corn crib, would you have been able to hear them from the street?
Yeah, you would, yes.
Okay. And do you know who Jason Autry's paternal grandmother is?
Yes, ma'am, Miss Judy Autry.
And do you know how she is related to the Bobos?
I do. She's related to Miss, I think her name's Ruby Bobo. I think they're sisters.
Okay. And do you know who Ruby Bobo is related to?
Well, it'd be Dana's mother, I guess.
Okay. And did Jason spend much time with his paternal grandmother growing up?
Yes, he did a lot of time with her, yeah.
Okay. Going back to the corn crib, what happened to that corn crib?
Okay, what happened to that? I guess it would be in the last part of 2011, or I'm sorry, in the last part of 2012 and early 2013, my husband tore it down, okay? He looked at it. We didn't have a barn at that time, and he was going to build something. So there was nothing that could be done to that. It was in such bad shape that he just decided that he would take it down and keep what was useful, the stuff that could be reused, he would keep it. So he separated out the tin and some wood and stuff that was good and usable. And the rest of it, he just knocked it down with a backhoe and then dug a hole in the ground and pushed that stuff in it, set it on fire. And then when the fire went out, he covered it up. And then with that material, he built another barn, which is out there now that you can see from the road also. So
Okay.
That's what happened to that.
No further questions. Thank you.
Probably never thought that we talked so much about this old corn.
Hey, I know, right?
It was in bad shape and falling out.
Yeah.
And you can actually get to the corn crib through the woods behind it, correct?
In a car, or how are you talking about
Yes,
getting
ma'am.
in a
It's
car?
possible to car through those woods back way into the corn crib.
Okay, I'm confused.
It's possible to get a car back through the woods to the back of the corn crib.
Well, if you came off of the road, you would be driving just through there was a road there sort of that had grown up with grass, and you would drive to that. And I guess you could pull back. Are you asking me, can you pull behind it?
Absolutely.
Okay, I didn't understand. There is woods behind it. That's why I was getting confused. I don't know if you could drive from the woods. It's there's a set of woods that's behind that. I didn't understand the question, but yes, I suppose you could
You
drive.
Back there to the
Right.
the corn crib going through the back. You said you thought you'd be able to hear somebody screaming if they were in the corn crib screaming from the street.
Right.
Would you agree it depends on a lot of different things, doesn't it?
Well, like what, I
Like
guess.
if there's other noises out there, like a loud lawnmower.
Okay, right.
Agree?
Yeah, sure.
Like if she was drugged, restrained, and unable to scream as she was being raped in that old corn crib. Right?
You're saying if she was, if I suppose so.
But
Right.
standing there at the street from your mom's house, or standing there, you think you'd be able to hear, but you can't see into that corn crib at all, can you?
No, not from the road, no.
Doors shut. It's a private place, right?
It would be,
On the
right.
edge of the woods that you can get to in the back
No, you can't get to it from the back.
from the side.
You would have to park behind it, I guess. I don't know.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay, because there is woods behind it. You would not be able to drive your vehicle out from the woods to get to that. You would have to come in from the road is what I think. I think that's what you asked, or did you ask and you come through the woods?
Back of that corn crib with the car.
Yes. Okay.
You'd be far off the road.
Well, would be back basically the same distance, I guess. You would just be behind it. Yeah.
Behind it hidden.
Right.
And this road we're talking about is a road that you knew the searchers searched, right?
Yes, I did.
Do you know where stuff was found there?
Which road are you talking about?
By your mother's.
The Yellow Springs Road?
Uh-huh.
I had heard that, but I never did know if that was true or not. I've
Yes,
heard a
it
lot
is
of
true.
things. Okay.
Did you know where stuff was found within 75 yards of Shayne Austin's house?
No, I didn't.
Nothing.
When you went over to the property on the 15th of April, did you notice any tire tracks behind the corn crib?
No.
No further questions.
Done. All right, step down. Don't discuss your testimony with anyone. If you want to return to the courtroom, you may do so. It's up to you, okay?
Thank you.
Call your next.
That's our last witness, Your Honor.
All right, we'll break a little early. We started a little early. Do what?
Today. Just for today.
Okay, I understood, okay? Once again, all the admonitions I gave you. Put this matter out of your mind, don't form or express any opinion, no conversation with anyone, not even among yourselves. Don't allow anyone to discuss the case with you or in your presence. Continue to avoid all news reports, and if you hope you have a good evening as you can, we'll begin at 8:30 in the morning, okay? That work all right for everybody? Not quite hot right now either, so, all right, thank you. Probably need to get him gavel and let him strike once. I will give you, this isn't really law school, this is just informational. But by and large, the number of strikes when they open court indicates the number of judges on the bench. If they strike, then they open, it will be a 3-judge appellate panel. If they strike 5 times, Tennessee Supreme Court. The exception is, I think, and I haven't checked on it, but I've had the pleasure to be in the audience at the United States Supreme Court. Matter of fact, I've been there twice once I was introduced as a member of the bar. I don't think they strike 9 times, but generally the number of strikes has to do with the number of judges. Okay, a little more information. We now know broadly about hearsay, 404B, discovery, and now the number of strikes and opening the court. So, all right, we're ready to continue. Defense ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
State ready to proceed? All right, call your next.
Terry Dicus.
Mr. Dykes, raise your right hand. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Be seated, state your name, first and last, and spell it for the reporter.
Terry Dicus, TerryDicus.
And Mr. Dicus, how are you currently employed?
I'm an attorney in Savannah, Tennessee.
And on April the 13th, 2011, how were you employed at that time?
I was a criminal investigator assigned to the 24th Judicial District. I was assigned to Hardin, Decatur, and Benton counties.
And an investigator with which entity?
Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
Okay. And just to be clear, you were the case agent on this case?
Yes, ma'am. I was the original case agent.
Okay. And how many years were you the case agent?
From April 13th, 2011 until sometime in June of 2013, so a little over 2 years.
Okay. And when you left, what did you go to
Did
do?
you say June 2015?
No, Your Honor. I said June 2013, a little over 2 years, 2011 to 2013.
Now, in investigating this case, I'd like to direct your attention first to the investigation of Mr. Adams, since we're here today in his case. Did you, in fact, investigate Mr. Adams as part of your investigation of the disappearance of Holly Bobo?
I did.
Okay, and what were the facts that you investigated? What were the leads that you followed? Will you please just tell the jury?
Zach Adams, his name came up very early in the investigation. The first time that I remember,
Can you speak a little more into the microphone?
Yes.
Move the microphone closer to you, if you will.
the first time that I remember Mr. Adams' name coming up was about the first week of the investigation. So I sent 4 FBI agents, 2 TBI agents, and a dog team from the Shelby County Sheriff's Department to go out to a friend of his, Shayne Austin. He went out to Shayne Austin's house. Shayne's, we had information on all these. They're a little clique, the Adams, Autry, and Austin. They were supposedly together that day. So I believe that's the first thing that came up with Shayne Austin. So they went out there and they interviewed him. They ran dogs through his trailer to see if these were cadaver dogs that supposedly can tell the scent of human decomposition. So they go out to this house. They go out to Austin's house, check him out. I didn't actually meet any of them at the time. I was in the command post.
Okay, so when they went to the house, what did they discover there?
Well, it was a trailer. It was a mobile home on Yellow Springs Road. And by the time they went there, we'd already found, or we didn't find it, but a citizen in Decatur County had already found some items that we know were Holly's on this road, Yellow Springs Road in northern Decatur County. So that piqued our interest even more in Mr. Austin and this whole crew.
Okay, so when the group, which investigators actually went to talk to Mr. Austin?
I can't tell you the name of the FBI guys because I'm not sure. I don't know it.
Okay,
I believe it was Joe Walker and Brent Booth that went to Austin's house originally, and Ricky M. and the Decatur County investigator. So there was 8 total investigators that went to Austin's house there initially.
And what did they do at his house?
Well, they interviewed him. They got his story. They checked out his mobile home.
When you say checked out, what do you mean by that?
Well, they searched it. He gave them consent search, so they went all the way through his trailer. They noted that he had a rifle right there close to him, and he told them that he was a gun nut. So they talked to him, got his story, find out where he was at around the time of the kidnapping.
And did they have a dog search team there also?
Yes, ma'am. That cadaver dog team that searched, they alerted to something, and it may have been not a cadaver dog, but a biological material dog, because it allegedly alerted to a sock that was somewhere in Austin's bedroom.
And what did they determine about that sock?
Well, they believe the sock was used as a rag, for lack of a better term, a rag to clean up biological material.
And what biological material? Did they reach a conclusion about what that sock had been used to clean up?
Semen, like you use it to clean up semen.
And they then asked Mr.
Your Honor, object to hearsay.
But they reached a different conclusion also about the semen.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this calls for speculation of some sort of scientific conclusion.
It's not.
Thanks for the question.
Okay, but there's something about that semen that then they didn't, and they weren't concerned about it being a rape. So what was it that they decided about that semen? Do you remember?
Okay, they determined that he was masturbating into a sock, and he was using it as a cum rag. Apologize for saying it. I don't know how to say it any different. But.
Okay, just to be clear on what the whole issue with the sock was. Okay, and then he gave an alibi that day, or he gave a statement of what he was doing. Did you check into that?
I didn't personally at that time. I was ordered to stay in the command post at all times, so that stayed for several months that I was in the command center as everybody was coming in. You got to understand, Autry, Adams. You know, we had many Autry and Adams that's coming in at the time. People are calling in and say, "You better check out Mate's boyfriend. He's mean. He could have done it." Okay, well that would be a lead that we'd have to follow and rule him out somehow. So there was a whole lot of information that was coming in, and I was compartmentalizing and prioritizing the information that was coming in to see what we do next.
Okay, so, but at some point, did the TBI check out his alibi?
Yes.
Okay, and then what else did you do about Mr. Adams to investigate Mr. Adams?
Mr. Adams, there was a trooper that Warren Rainey went and talked to Mr. Adams. I believe he was the first or one of the first to actually talk to Mr. Adams and check him out, see what he was doing. He came back and told some things that he noticed that were very strange, and saying y'all need to look a little further into it. So I believe it's the same group, and I don't know that I told them or they did it on their own. I believe they probably did it on their own. They went out and checked out Zach Adams. They interviewed him. They went through his house the same way. They did everything they needed to do.
And didn't the FBI go out to talk to Mr. Adams also?
I believe, yes.
Okay.
Well, they did with me one time for sure, but I know they did around the time of the kidnapping as well.
Okay, and when's the second time that Mr. Adams was interviewed?
I don't know. I can't tell you the date.
Okay, Ricky Inman, Ricky Inman actually interviewed Mr. Adams at some point, didn't he?
Correct.
And what was the result of that interview?
I believe that Mr. Adams told him essentially the same story that he had told before, that he was at home and with his brother and his girlfriend at the time, Rebecca Earp, and they woke up, they left and picked up Shayne Austin that morning. Okay. Shayne Austin, one of his buddies who didn't have a vehicle, and Zach's truck was supposedly tore up. So they went in Dylan's Chevrolet. They went in Dylan's Chevrolet, left where they live. They live on Adams Lane, which is northern Decatur County. They left sometime between 9 and 10 that morning. They pick up Shayne Austin. When they pick up Shayne Austin, then they go up to the interstate where there's a gas station up there. They get gas, but gas is always high there. I agree with you. Gas is unbelievably high there. So they just put, like I believe, around $5 gas in the vehicle. to go back to into Decatur County, into Decaturville, Parsons, where gas is much cheaper. So they're just putting it in right there to get them to another spot. And Adams said that at that time, Adams, Austin, and Dylan Adams all said that they noticed a wave of police cars coming down the interstate, a wave of black SUVs that were flying down the interstate. Zachary Adams.
Can I stop you right there? During this investigation, were you all able to obtain video surveillance from different businesses?
Yes,
Okay. And at one point, did you obtain some video surveillance from the Ant Farm
I did.
business? I'd like to pass you some pictures.
Okay.
Now, did you spend a lot of time looking at the Ant Farm video?
Days,
Personally?
days and weeks. Yes.
Okay. And do you recognize these pictures right here?
Yes, these are pictures taken from the Am Farm, close the camera closest to the door. It's a perfect angle of the parking lot, but also in the background catches all traffic going south and north on 641. That's what these pictures are.
Okay. And was there a time and date stamp on the Am Farm videos?
Yes, ma'am.
And those pictures right there, what time and date stamp do they have?
The first one with the one black SUV is 1104, date 4/13/2011. Sorry. The second one, 1105/01, same date, 4/13/2011, the day of the kidnapping.
Okay. And Your Honor, I would like to have those two marked as exhibits.
215 and 216. Am I correct?
Yes.
We still all right on tablets? Everybody good? Let me know, okay?
So can we put the first timeline, one, it's first in time, that's the second in time. So, okay, and the first in time, and let's see, we have a pointer. Okay, and would you please point out the vehicle in there? What is that vehicle for the record? What does it appear to be?
That is a black SUV. I'm not sure exactly what kind. It's
Give me
a
the location of this photo again.
it is an Am Farm. It's a pharmaceutical company in
Okay,
Decatur County.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Right there on this is Highway 641, Highway 69.
And is it closer to Parsons or closer to the interstate and farm?
It's much closer to Parsons. It's actually you're coming into Parsons right now as that vehicle is coming into the city limits of Parsons.
Okay. So in this picture, and I see a little tree in this picture, where is the truck in relation to that tree? The little tree in the landscaping?
The SUV,
Yes,
it's right here. This is the vehicle that you're asking me about.
right. So is it before or after the tree?
It's after the tree.
Okay, so then if we move to the next picture. So in this picture, what do you see here?
Well, it's the same type, and it's tough to make out the kind of vehicles these are, but this is another SUV type vehicle that's right around a little, almost even with the tree, a little bit south of even.
Okay, so it's not past the tree yet.
That's correct.
And then what about the second vehicle there?
The second one is maybe 7 car lengths behind the tree.
And so you can kind of tell the distance that they're going perhaps by the timing between the two pictures. And how many parking spaces would you say are between those two cars?
I would say perhaps 5 or 6.
Okay. And did you know something about the TBI that day and what was going on in the Jackson TBI office?
Yes, a special agent with the Medicaid fraud unit was having a retirement party in Jackson.
Okay. And so what did that mean about people, about the SUVs? How did that relate to the SUVs?
Well, this guy, he had worked there forever with all kinds of different agencies. So a large portion of the responding officers, whether it be TBI, Secret Service, FBI, they were coming from Jackson to get to the scene of the kidnapping, 681 Swan Johnson.
Okay. So to you then, would it fit with what you knew about the TBI that there would be these 3 SUVs in a row?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to go ahead and just put those into, they're already in evidence.
Yes.
Move on. We can-
215 and 216.
Okay, and then did you also have information about the kind of car that Mr. Adams was in that morning? What car did he tell you he was in that day?
It was a extended cab Chevy Silverado, black in color, I believe.
Was it black?
I don't remember. I don't remember the color.
Okay. Dark. Would you
Dark,
say
might have been dark blue, dark green.
I'd like to pass another picture up to you.
It had Georgia license plates,
Okay.
if that helps you.
Well, were you able to see any license plates when you looked at the Informant video?
No, ma'am, no. It's much too far away and it's not the right angle.
And what does that appear to be a picture of?
That is a extended cab, probably either GMC or Chevrolet pickup truck.
Okay, and what time is that picture made?
11:07 and 24 seconds.
And I'd like to have this marked as my next exhibit, Your Honor.
217.
Do you recognize where that picture came from?
Yes, ma'am. It's the Am Farm video from the one closest to the front door.
Okay, and can you, for the jury, point out where that pickup truck is?
Right here's the pickup truck you're referring to.
Okay. Okay, and then I think for a few minutes, we're done with the overhead projector. Okay, are there other things that you did to check out well, first of all, in your investigation, we heard some about telephone records. What did you do to check out the telephone records?
The telephone records of,
Whose telephone records did you get copies of?
okay. The first thing we did with the telephone records is we got a tower dump for every cell phone in close to Decatur County. What a tower dump does is it tells you every bit of activity, whether somebody's receiving a call, making a call, or they're having a SMS message, anything. It tells you every bit of information for everybody in this area, which was larger than Decatur County. So that's the first thing I did. I got a search warrant for AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. I believe that's it. So we got all these search warrants. So we have all this data of if you were in Decatur County that day, we know where your cell phone was, if you used it at all.
And at some point, did you get records on Holly Bobo's cellular telephone?
Yes, ma'am. We got a search warrant for AT&T for her and everybody in her family for geolocate, which tells you where her phone is at a particular point in time.
Now, does it tell you exactly where a phone is?
It could, if this was a 3G network where they can triangulate, they'll tell you if you're using your phone, they can give you you're at 2800 Smith Road in Savannah. Decatur County at the time, and they have since upgraded, I believe, but at the time there were a 2G network, which basically all they could tell you, a cellular tower has either 3 or 4 quadrants, and a quadrant has 120 degrees. So if they're telling you where the cell phone is, basically they're telling you the center point to that cellular quadrant, and they'll give you a confidence, how confident they are that this is accurate, of however many meters, 4,000 to 7,000. So it doesn't tell you exactly where it is, but you can piece it together with looking at where her cell phone has been to make a good educated guess as to where her cell phone is at a certain time.
Okay, and did you all actually go to AT&T to get additional information about the cellular telephone network?
Actually, we had an engineer with AT&T come out to Decatur County, and he rode every road in Decatur County that had something, that was important to us. So when he's riding the roads, he's got a device where he can measure which tower at the point.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm going to check this one. I think even by Mr. Dykes' own admission, he's not a cell phone expert like Mr. Frizzell is. I think he'll even acknowledge Mr. Frizzell is a cell phone expert. So to the extent that his testimony goes into anything about cell phone,
How it operates or anything, he can set up that somebody's driven around and things like
Right.
that.
That's what I'm trying to just set up. So not to say exactly what the information was showing, but he was able to determine which tower the phone was hitting off of at different places in the road. Is that right?
That's correct.
And did he come up with a map that reflected that?
and here's what I think we need to hear from, like Mr. Frizzell, a cell phone expert, who can explain to us what this map is.
Well, right now, Your Honor, I'm trying just to lay the groundwork for my cell phone expert that's going
Okay,
to come in.
all
So, and did you come up with a map that
Showed at what point this phone was pinging off of what tower?
Yeah, but that's a little misleading.
Okay.
That map shows which tower at a certain point is utilizing that cell phone. His device was telling him which tower, all the towers around Decatur County, the 4 or 5, which tower, if you're on this road right here, if you're on Cypress Hill Road, which tower are you going to be using? So that map shows which tower you're going to be using at this road. Now you drive 100 feet down the road, you may be on a different tower, but that's what that map did. That's the importance of that. We can tell each point on the route, each point on the potential route of where her cell phone would have been. If it was here, which tower would it have been hitting off of?
And also you got from AT&T a map that showed kind of the different cell phone towers and where the coverage of those cell phone towers was expected to be.
Correct.
It's a multicolored map with that showed kind of where cell tower signals faded in and out.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then again, you were still talking about the cell phone records and with Holly's phone and how you got in the geolocates.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
interrupted you, so can you continue from there?
I don't, we got all our cell phone. So we get all this data. We also had some pings where the Decatur County Sheriff's Department, before I got there, they had already initiated a ping, which a ping is where the cellular provider is sending out a where are you signal to the cellular provider. So we had pings starting at 8:56 that morning. Well, 8:56 they actually had no location for, but we had several pings, maybe 4 or 5 pings that day that told us where her cell phone was within that cellular quadrant. Keep in mind, it tells you the center point. It doesn't tell you anything else, but that's what we had.
Okay. And I'd like to have these two maps just pass out and mark for identification purposes.
The 218, 219, right here.
I want to just pass those to you and see do you recognize those as being the maps that were generated by AT&T?
Yes, ma'am. They are very familiar to me.
Okay, and the first one, the one that's actually when you were driving different routes, that's the one we'll have marked with the lower number.
Parsons Area 7.
Okay, is that what it says at the top?
Parsons Area 7/7/2011.
Okay, we'll pass that one first, and then the second
218.
one. What is that one?
This one is a map indicating the coverage of all these towers.
We're not going to show
Oh.
the jury just yet, but
Sorry. This is a map showing the overlay of the coverage of the cell towers in Decatur County.
okay, very good. Okay, and at some point, did you all get the cellular telephone records of Mr. Adams?
I believe so.
And in determining whether or not he had an alibi for any of that time, did you make any determination about that?
Well, there was one indication on his cell record within the tower dumps that showed at 8:28 a.m. he was hitting off the tower that's in the northeastern portion of Decatur County, which would cover northeastern part where his residence is.
And what time was that?
I believe it was 8:28.
Okay. And then what else did you determine? Or did you compare that with something else in order to try to make a determination about his alibi?
Right. His cell phone at 8:28 is hitting off a tower that's several miles from the tower that Holly's cell phone was hitting off at 8:26 a.m. So 2-minute drive time. There's no way that Zach's cell phone could have been where.
Again, I think we're getting into findings. Expertise.
But did you use that information then to make determinations in
Yes.
your investigation?
Right.
Okay. And what determination did you make at that time?
I think it's just a backdoor way of trying to get cell phone
He's not a
experts.
cell phone expert.
Right. But about Mr. Adams' alibi, what determination did you make about his alibi?
The determination I made is that he could not have been involved in the kidnapping.
Okay. And what about Rebecca Earp? Did you mention Rebecca Earp earlier, his girlfriend?
Yes,
Okay. And did you speak with her?
I did.
When did you speak with her?
Give me a second. It's a big file. I believe it was the first time I spoke to her was probably sometime after July the 4th of 2011, because I talked to A-Train on July the 5th, 2011. So as part of
Yep. You say A-Train. Who are you referring to when you say A-Train?
Jason Autry,
Okay.
I spoke to him on July the 5th. These guys kept on coming up with for stupid reasons, saying, I'm going to put your you end up like Holly. You do this and okay, good. Let's get back on them. So we checked them out several times. Around July, I said, I'm going to check them out for good and ended it. So I talked to Jason Autry first with, I believe it was with my buddy Brent Booth and Joey Hudgens. We spoke to him at his mother's trailer. We left there. We spoke to Zach Adams and his brother Dylan at their house on Adams Lane. And then at the end, I called Rebecca Earp and I said, Miss Earp, you have given information to other people. I haven't talked to you yet. My name's Terry Dicus. I'm the case agent on this. I want you to think about this very carefully. I'm going to ask you a question. And if you lie to me, I'll make your life miserable. If you tell me the truth, I'm going to help you. And at that point, she said,
Okay, so after you talked with her, what determination did you make?
that I was wasting my time
Wasting your time doing what?
investigating these idiots.
Okay.
I'm sorry, no offense.
Not these idiots. Can you be more specific about these idiots?
Well, these idiots that keep on saying I'm going to put her in the well. And
Right, but who's, give names for the jury, please.
Jason Autry, Zach Adams, and Shayne Austin, and Dylan Adams.
Did you have any special affinity for those four men?
No, I never met them before this case.
Okay. And so let's talk about some of the other people that you investigated regarding this case, some of the other suspects that you had. Will you tell the jury, please, about John Dodd and what evidence you had that he might be a suspect in this case?
John Dodd, he's a troublemaker, is the information we had. Now I found him like a fairly likable young man, but he's a troublemaker. He'd done several things that I would classify as extremely mean and devious. He had actually tried to commit a theft at the Bobo house. And there were...
So he would have been familiar with the Bobo house?
Correct.
Okay.
And he also was seen in the area between 8:30 and 12, somewhere in there. There's several different witnesses that see him driving a four-wheeler, up on two wheels, the way they explained it, just going crazy, getting around the corner.
And what day is this?
On April 13th, 2011.
Okay. And so what other evidence did you have that pointed towards him? Did you use dogs in the situation?
We had dogs come down, and I love my dog, but I don't know how beneficial they are in law enforcement activities. But we had a dog that came out. We had dogs come down, and I love my dog, but I don't know how beneficial.
Somebody needs to clip that for me. That's got to be a soundbite. I love my dog. Love my dog. I need that clipped.
They are in law enforcement activities. But we had a dog that came out that alerted that the scent of Holly Bobo went towards his grandfather, Grafton Dodd's house on, I can't think of the name of the road, but anyway, Grafton Dodd had a cabin north of the Bobos, probably 3 or 4 miles north of the Bobos. And these dogs supposedly alerted and said,
Excuse me, I assume Mr. Dicus was there, and it sounds like
I was there. I did go there. Yep.
Okay. They alerted.
They alerted, and I'm sorry. They told me that the scent is kind of weak, as if somebody had walked through here a couple of weeks or a week before this happened.
And in relation to when Holly Bobo had disappeared, how long were the dogs, how much later after she disappeared were the dogs doing their scent search?
It's hard to believe, but it was about a week or 2 weeks after that,
Okay. And so that gave you reason. What did you do then with that information?
I interrogated Dodd. I went through his life, everything about him.
What kind of car did he have?
He had a white Ford Ranger, I believe.
Okay. A pickup truck.
Correct.
And
Yeah,
he-
we went through his truck too,
And did you? Oh, go ahead.
at the time that I was interrogating him, we had an FBI team of 8 to 10 people sifting through his truck, doing everything with his truck. So
What about his phone records and his Facebook account?
we obtained both of those.
Okay. And did you make a determination about where he was living? You said his grandfather had a cabin over there. Did you decide where John Dodd was living at the time?
He had been staying with his grandfather.
Okay. Okay, let's move
But-
on. Oh,
You probably don't want me to ask that, but I'll say it. But at the time of the kidnapping, he was supposedly staying with a friend of his, and he had an alibi.
but you had some people that had seen him that morning near the Bobo home.
Correct.
Let me ask you then about a man named Keith White.
Keith White. Keith White was Keith White hired James Barnes to build a deck. Build a deck at his house. So I mean, he was there at the time Barnes got there.
Okay. What about Larry Ham?
Larry Ham, interesting enough, his wife called and said, "Y'all need to look at my husband. He's good for this." So that was all we had. And sure enough, he was turkey hunting that morning. He kind of fits the physical description. He's close that our witnesses provided, somewhat anyway. That's all I remember.
And what had he been wearing that morning?
Camouflage. He'd been turkey hunting.
Okay. And did he have an alibi for the time? Did he have anybody else that could verify an alibi?
No, nobody could verify it. I believe his phone records may have provided the U.S. Marshal Service. They're the best with the phone, besides Mr. Frizzell. I'm sorry, Mr. Frizzell. But they are very good at working phone records because they do that all the time to chase down fugitives. They'll look at phone records and figure out where they're at. So I sent 2 marshals to go check him out, and they went through everything. At the end, I mean, I wouldn't tell you 100% that he couldn't have done it, but he didn't fit a lot of other stuff that we knew that we're getting in. So
Okay. What about Richard Townsend?
we checked him out. Yes.
Why did you suspect him?
I'm kind of uncomfortable disclosing this because my boss said that we wouldn't. So I would really prefer if I.
Okay, I'll withdraw my question then.
Thank you.
How about James Barnes?
James Barnes.
Yes.
Me
Ed Barnes?
personally, at no point did I ever suspect James Barnes of doing anything wrong whatsoever. And I know that wasn't necessarily a consensus opinion, but that was my opinion because at 7:47, he's the one that's alerting everybody to, hey, this is happening. It's idiotic to think he was involved with it.
Right.
You know,
But did you direct an investigation towards him?
I did not me personally.
Did the TBI direct an investigation towards him?
Well, we checked him out very thoroughly.
Okay, so what did you check out about him?
His phone records were Keith White. We talked to him. We went to, I was part of this. We went to either Perry County or Wayne County to one of his friend's house and checked out that area. We searched a huge area. We talked to Mr. Keith Clark, who was his good buddy. And this is a guy who was supposedly with him at the time. They saw Holly and Natalie Bobo, Holly's cousin, walking, and they were supposedly staring at him. So we looked at him every way we could, including his mom, who he lived right beside, Miss Kathy Wise.
Okay. And what about the dogs? Did the dogs alert on anything regarding the Barnes house?
Yes.
What did the dogs alert to?
Well, not to his house. There was a pond beside it, and I believe the dogs alerted to the pond. You know, dogs came in from everywhere, and we didn't have certifications. We didn't know if they were great. You know, you're not going to turn them around. You're looking for somebody that's missing, and they want to go search. They want to go search the woods. Go ahead. They want to go search a pond. Go ahead. But I don't know how these dogs. Some of them absolutely had to be wrong, 100%. So,
Okay.
and in this case, Mr. Barnes, 100%, those dogs had to be, I don't know, looking for a chicken leg or something.
Okay. What about Kathy Wise, James Barnes' mother? Did you all investigate her?
Yes.
What did you do to investigate her?
Same type of thing. We did everything with everybody.
Okay, and was there a reason to be suspicious of her regarding a kidnapped victim?
To me, no. There were some people that were suspicious of that allegation.
Okay, what's the allegation?
Judge, I don't think that's relevance to this.
It's a reason that they investigated her, Your Honor. They got her phone records and thoroughly investigated her, and it's an allegation that came up.
I believe there was a girl, an underage girl, who may have been a Mennonite or something like that, and she, I wouldn't say kidnapping. She said, "Hey, you can stay with me," because there might have been allegations of abuse or something along that line, or neglect, and she told this girl, "You can stay with me." So The girl stayed with her. It didn't result in any criminal charges. It might have been something that half of us would do, and the other half would say, I'm not going to get involved in it.
So she had harbored a runaway.
Correct.
What about, you mentioned Keith Clark. Can we go into Keith Clark?
Sure.
Who was Keith Clark?
Keith Clark was James Barnes' best friend.
Okay, and you started to say something about he had seen Holly and Natalie. Can you explain that a little more in depth?
Yes, I believe it was Natalie Bobo gave us information that Holly and her would go walking. They'd walked several times already that year up and down Swan Johnson. James Barnes lived close to them, and on at least one occasion they'd walk by, and Keith Clark and James Barnes had stared at them. They're fairly good-looking ladies, though.
Okay, and so what all did you do? What records or other items did you obtain to investigate Keith Clark?
Same thing. We did everything. We got everything we could possibly get on everybody that anybody came up with. This guy needs to be looked at. We got him.
What does that include? Phone records?
Phone records, interviewing them, checking out their alibi, doing everything we can to rule them in or rule them out.
Okay. What about Blake Barnett?
Blake Barnett was an ex-boyfriend of Holly's. I believe he was actually not the most current ex-boyfriend, but the ex-boyfriend before that. Mr. Barnett worked with Holly's boyfriend's dad, Boo Scott, and he worked at Food Giant in Parsons, and he was at work at 9:01 that morning.
Okay, so he was at work at 9:01, but not at the time that she actually disappeared from her home.
I mean, here's the way I when I got my bearings about me. She was kidnapped at 7:45. Her phone is moving at 8 o'clock. Her phone's that we can tell is disassembled between 9:25 and 9:40. So I'm looking for someone that cannot give a good excuse of where they're at from 7:45 to 9:40. That's all I care about, because if you're not where Holly's phone is, I don't care where you were at, what you were doing. That's what I'm looking at. So Blake Barnett could not have, in my opinion, been the one that kidnapped her. So that's how I ruled him out.
Okay. So just because of the 9 o'clock and he checked in at 9 o'clock, that was he clocked in to work, you said.
That's correct. And, we talked to people that worked there as well, and ask how he was doing. What was his demeanor? How was he acting? It'd be hard to imagine that someone could have done this and went on about their business and not shown a reaction whatsoever. So that was an important part of it.
What about Joseph Ragusa?
Very, very entertaining man, Tony the Tiger.
Why do you call him Tony the Tiger?
That was his nickname. This guy lived in the woods on somebody else's property. So when you go up to see him, you hear dogs barking. He had like 15, 20 dogs, all strays, people had dumped off. Well, this man, he didn't have money to eat himself, but he had plenty of dog food. He fed every one of these dogs, took care of them. And on every tree close to where he was staying is a snake. He's killing snakes and eating them. So God bless him for that. That's why I say he's a very good man. He wore him out.
Okay.
And he had no vehicle. He didn't fit the physical description. His voice didn't sound like what we're looking for. So, and he was at work that day. So anybody you name, I probably can give you 4 or 5 reasons why I know that person did not kidnap Holly.
What about John Russom?
John Russom, he,
What led you to him to begin with?
I don't remember. It may have been simply where he was living at the time, or someone may have called in. I don't remember. It was very weak information that we had.
Okay.
He was on probation. So when I went out there, people that are on probation, they don't have a right to deny you to go in their house. So we carried everybody and went through all his house. He had all kinds of camo, but I ruled him out because he's bald headed. We had several people confirm that he's bald headed. He showed me his foot, and it looked very, very bad. I don't know what the medical term is, but I believe it's had something to do with diabetes. And he had trouble walking. He only had access to a motorcycle. He didn't have a car.
So he did have some transportation.
He had a motorcycle, yes.
Okay. And did he have an alibi for the time that she disappeared?
No, I don't believe he did. He applied for a job that morning, probably around 9 o'clock at the North 40 truck stop. I don't believe it was at the truck stop, but it's somewhere right around the truck stop. May have been the auto body shop, or well, anyway, that was what he was doing that day. So
Were you able to clearly rule him out, or did he remain a partial suspect?
he didn't do it. I mean, yeah, I ruled him out. I mean,
Okay.
he didn't fit on anything. And everybody you named, you said, well, what about this person as a suspect? I'm trying to put together a puzzle, and if I find 5 pieces that don't fit, I'm done. Or 2 pieces that don't fit, I'm done. It's not this person, and everything you may disagree with me that wasn't enough, but all you really have to have is one fact that says this person couldn't have kidnapped her, and you need to go to several facts that said he didn't do it. So I moved on.
Okay, what about Michael Alexander?
Michael Alexander was at work that morning. He was working on a machine that he'd been working on for 2 years. It was going to Australia. He worked for a company in Parsons named American Coding and Machine, something like that. It's right there on 641. But he was at work that morning, and he was confirmed by every one of his coworkers, and his boss. We had timesheets, every which way you can imagine. He was not there. He couldn't have done it.
Okay, what about Jason Nickel?
Okay, we looked at him early on, very early on, probably we'd already had the mobile command post, but we didn't get it that first day. I would say probably by the 15th or 16th, we were on Jason Nickel.
15th or 16th?
Of April.
Okay.
Yes, very
Now,
early.
his phone actually had some common pings with her phone that morning, did it not?
I don't believe it. I don't believe so. And with him at 9:30, he was at a doctor's office. This is what I remember. He was at a doctor's office in Benton County with kidney stones.
What were the reasons you suspected Jason Nickel to begin with?
If he says, I just want to rule him out, so I don't see the relevance.
It is relevant.
He can say why he was looking at it.
He stalked a girl in Jackson. Officer Hedden with the Jackson Police Department got a warrant on him for that. He fit the description of an attempted abduction or stalking from a week to 2 weeks before in Dixon.
Okay, tell us about that attempted abduction in Dixon.
That's relevant.
Well, but this man, are you aware
He's
of,
already testified he ruled him out. What happened in Dixon a week prior to this is irrelevant.
Well, there was a kidnapping 6 days before this one, an attempted kidnapping in Dixon, Tennessee, where a person pulled up in a car and tried to pull a woman who was similar in appearance.
It's irrelevant. He said he ruled this person out. This is your witness.
So when you ruled him out, it was only because of the doctor's appointment that morning. Is that right?
That's not the only way we ruled him out.
okay,
All right. So we did other things that are not admissible in court, but
okay,
that's not the only thing we did. No, I'm under oath. I can't tell you that's the only thing we did.
okay. What about Jerry Evans?
Jerry Evans, he lived really close to the Bobos, And actually, where he lived, I believe he probably would have seen the vehicle going by at the time of the kidnapping if he had been looking. The route of the kidnapper indicates that more than likely it went right in front of his house. And that's a pretty good ways off the road. But so Evans that morning saw a flatbed truck, a green flatbed truck, and he came to one of the roadblocks and tried to give some information about it. And they, I don't know, they didn't take that information, but I followed up on that at a later time. And you got to understand, I mean, while he's trying to give the information, Holly's cell phone is going all through the county. So again, he's not the kidnapper according to just that. And Holly's cell phone went past his house. And it turns out the vehicle that he saw was used in cattle. They were feeding cattle. A Hispanic man drove it that morning for one of the cattle farmers.
Okay, and what about Clint Bobo? Was he a suspect at one time?
He was a suspect for probably 12 hours in my mind.
Okay, what about other people in the department? Did they think he was a suspect?
Yes.
Okay, and so what evidence kind of pointed towards him?
We're talking about Mr. Dicus is excluded as a suspect after 12 hours. So we're talking about other investigators.
Are you talking about His investigation?
Your investigation, what evidence did you initially think pointed towards him being the suspect?
Well, look, you know what? I'm not immune to the same type of things that other people were saying. Other people were thinking, how could he have done this? You know, he did this, he didn't do this.
Well, what do you mean by he did this, he didn't do this?
Well, there's a lot of people that gave him grief. You know, a lot of Captain Americans that said, well, if I'd been there, I'd done this. Yeah, you might have died right there in the carport. But a lot of people thought that was strange, that what he saw, it took him a few minutes. Literally, it's just a few minutes. It took him a few minutes to react to it and to figure out what was going on. So I think that was the main part of it, that people like, oh, why didn't he do something? You know, he didn't know what was going on. And when I say I ruled him out, in my mind, when I found out for sure Holly's cell phone is gone, it's moving, when I found out for sure there's no body in or around the house anywhere, yeah, he didn't kidnap her, so I forgot about it. Forgot about him as a suspect.
Okay. And then what about Terry and Janet Britt? Did you investigate them?
I did.
Okay. And what were the reasons that you thought they would be involved? Terry Britt would be involved?
Have a seat. Do well. So Terry Britt is a registered sex offender, a violent sex offender. He lives northern Decatur County. He has black hair. He weighs 200 pounds and he's 6 foot tall. So I got on to him because, number one, he is the exact size of what our witness said the abductor looked like. Okay. His history tells me he's capable of kidnapping her. So you put that together, and his alibi for that morning was kind of weak. His main alibi was his wife, which ordinarily that's not a bad alibi. That's what most people have. You know, the wife is with you. That's it. But this wife had been with him on more than one occasion where he had picked up a woman and got accused of trying to sexually assault her or rape her. So that brought him as a suspect. After Miss Karen put me on him. She called me one day and said, you got to find out about this guy. Natalie calls Chester the molester. That's what she knows him by. That Natalie and Holly were in Dollar General store a couple of weeks before the kidnapping, and this guy was staring at him. So at the same time she calls, I believe it was the same day, I was dealing with a frantic girl that's saying, this guy has been stalking me and he won't stop. He won't stop stalking me. The first time he stalked.
For the life of me, I will never understand how a jury, after hearing this former lead agent on the Holly Bobo case for TBI, lays this out, that there wasn't reasonable doubt. I just don't get it. I don't get it. With that bullshit case they put on, to have this guy sitting up here testifying, former TBI, who I'm sure is not a favorite of current TBI. I am sure he catches a lot of shit still to this day for his position on this case. Yeah, I don't get that, KDR. That's insane to me and terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Who's this?
Shelly King.
Okay.
I was dealing with a frantic girl that's saying, this guy has been stalking me and he won't stop. He won't stop stalking me.
And
The
who-
first time he stalked
Who is
her,
this?
Shelly King.
Okay.
No, Kristen Smith. I'm sorry.
Kristen Smith. Okay.
I believe it's Kristen Smith. Okay. But, Your Honor, if we can't.
I like to get Dicus on the show, frankly. I love when cops decide to go to law school and then turn out to be defense attorneys. It's interesting. You know, a lot of people are driven to become something, to do something based on things that have happened to them, things that have occurred in their lives that drives them into advocacy, into the law. Right, like Kelsey is a great example. You know, and if you had to pick, you know, what area of law Kelsey were to go into, I would probably guess criminal defense attorney. Maybe that changes depending on what goes on in this custody fight. But yeah, it's always a fascinating thing. It's always a fascinating thing. But I'd like to get him on the show. I'm gonna have to hit Katie up. I'm sure she's got his contact info.
Can we say initials on these girls? I don't want him to get out and do something.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So this girl reported to me, this guy's stalking. So I meet her at the sheriff's department. I walk in, me and Ricky Emmon. First thing I notice about her, she's got blonde hair, blue eyes. She looked a lot like Holly. And she actually said that she had been pulled over by officers that thought she was Holly. And at first I kind of thought, you know, they might be punking me and messing with me because she looked similar. She looked very similar to her. She was not her first cousin, I believe her second cousin or third cousin. But anyway, she tells me about this guy on 3 separate occasions that has been following her. Followed her home one time, and she followed through on it. She got a tag number. One of her friends had pulled up some information on sex offender registry. She came and told me his name is Terry Britt. This is the guy that is stalking me. And she said, this is not, I've known this guy for years because I used to work at Joe's Video with Janet Britt. And at that point, I'm going crazy, but I got Miss Karen telling me, you better check out Chester the Molester. But at the same time, I go talk to Natalie, and Natalie tells me Chester the Molester is Terry Britt. So I got Terry Britt seeing Holly shortly before the abduction, and he's stalking somebody that could pass as her sister the weekend after the abduction. I got a little curious.
Okay, so what?
It's a perfect opportunity for him to come and promote it. Right, Chia?
Did you do next, just in terms of the stalking victim?
In terms of the
Well,
stalking?
just stalking victims.
Okay. We kept getting more information about all these girls in Decatur County that he had been stalking around the time of the kidnapping. And
I know.
Of course, this is what I'm looking for. Somebody that I don't believe that somebody accidentally got in the woods that morning. Thank God, Miss Karen's gone to work, Dana's gone to work, and Clint's vehicle's parked somewhere else. I don't believe that. I believe they had to look into it. They had to put a little bit of effort into kidnapping her, a little bit of thought into it. They thought about where they were going to park the vehicle. They thought about where they were going to take her to. I don't believe this was a random type thing where, hey, let's, I'm checking the water meter, and then let's commit a Class A felony. So a total of 8 different women has told us different things, and some of them are a little dated a few years back, but all the information is kind of similar. He would pull up, he got caught, stopped in a road staring at these girls. Another lady said she caught him staring, and her husband worked as a deputy sheriff. So, I mean, you think about how brazen someone had to be to stalk a deputy sheriff's wife, right? Just about as brazen as you have to be to go and kidnap somebody off their carport. So that deputy sheriff went and talked to him at the time that happened, said, you ain't going to do it. You're not going to do it. And that's
I'm just sort of hearsay, and we're getting a lot of Mr. Dicus' opinions about things, which I don't believe is the purpose of this testimony. We are trying to rule on it.
But it's to show why his investigation moved in a certain direction.
I've given great latitude to show everyone that he's checked out and excluded. Let's
Okay.
pick this up a little.
So you had
Oh,
8
God.
women that you
Fuck
were able
off,
to determine had
Judge.
been stalked today.
Period.
Was there a type that these women looked like?
Most of them were blonde-headed.
Yeah, let's
blue-eyed.
move on.
The majority of them.
It's
Very good
not
looking women.
creating reason
So
to
then,
doubt here. I
what
need
did you
you
do to check
move
out
on,
Mr.
ma'am.
Britt? Terry Britt.
The first thing I did was check prior reports on what had we done to to exclude him or get him off, be off his trail. So that's the first thing I did. I went back and
Terry Dicus has zero motive to lie. Zero. I mean, how can you not find him credible? The guy, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm trying to understand how, was it 8 people? Was it 8-person jury? Am I right on that? Or was it 12? I think it was 8. How do these people look at this guy? Former TBI, is bright enough to have gone to law school and, more importantly, passed the bar exam. He's a practicing attorney, 12, all right? Makes it even worse. I mean, I don't know.
read everything else. And, you know, I checked what his alibi was. His alibi was he got up that morning. Well, first of all, he delivered newspapers with his wife on Tuesday nights. So they delivered newspapers until 3:10 a.m. on the morning of the kidnapping.
Yeah, I know.
But allegedly, they got up that morning for a bathtub that had been leaking for several weeks, and they decided they were going to go get a bathtub that morning. And she laid out of work. She didn't go to work that day. At a newspaper, in Decatur County the day Holly was kidnapped. So,
And what was the significance of that to you?
well, there's normally 4 people.
Wait, DB, clarify this. I thought she ended up actually going to work that day. Can I get some clarification on that? As to whether or not Britt's wife actually went to the paper that day. Right. Thank you. She was at work.
People, 4 or 5, at a newspaper in Decatur County the day Holly was kidnapped. So,
And what was the significance of that to you?
well, there's normally 4 or 5 people that work at this newspaper, but on Wednesdays they only have Jan and another guy. So when she laid out of work that day, she left one guy who told me himself he was a low functioning alcoholic as being in charge of the newspaper on the biggest news day in the history of the state of Tennessee. So I thought that was significant. So I went back over.
Was it a scheduled day off that she took?
No, she didn't tell anybody. She just laid out. That's what we heard. I found out later that she didn't lay out. She went to work and he called her and made her leave work.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead. What else about their alibi?
So their alibi, they got up that morning, went and got a bathtub. There's several different parts of that I checked out, but the first thing I wanted to know is, was there any type of discrepancy? Because since he's on the sex offender registry, a good buddy of mine, a brilliant idea at the very beginning, he gave orders to some of the Decatur County investigators or sheriff's deputies, said, go out and find every sexual offender in this county, find out where they're at and where they've been. That was brilliant. That worked great. But when they went out, they came back and told us, and I think when they were checking on these sex offenders, they didn't really keep up with their time that much. So they said,
Well, if he knows,
If he knows.
do you know?
yeah, I'm just trying to say that I don't blame them for being wrong. Okay. So, but they were wrong. They were off on what time they went out. So they go out there and around 1:45, 2 deputies go out looking for Terry Britt. And at the time they go out, there's at least 3 vehicles missing from the house.
Is Ms. Ranks there for this?
It's in the report. It's in the report.
Ms. Ranks isn't here for this. So, we rejected continuously. On
He's testifying someone else observed 3 vehicles were missing.
Yes, but it's part of his investigation, Your Honor.
It's still hearsay.
Okay, we'll skip that portion for now.
Okay. So the Brits were not home at 1:45. Okay. And they were gone somewhere at that time. They go back, the deputies go back later on that day, 3 to 3:30, and they see the Brits unloading.
And again, we're getting into, I know we're Have we heard testimony about this? This is not his
Okay.
observations.
Here's that.
We heard testimony about this. You can skip
Okay.
that part too.
All right, well, I mean,
Okay,
I checked his alibi and found out it was garbage.
okay. So what about what else about the alibi was garbage? Why did you think the alibi was garbage?
We pulled his phone. We pulled Jan's phone records. Brett had always said, I don't have a phone. I don't have a phone at all. He told that to the well, okay. He had told that repeatedly. And when we checked out her phones, well, actually, Danny Haynes told me that.
And who was Danny?
That's bad. Okay.
It gets tricky, but who is Danny Haynes?
Danny Haynes is Jan's boss.
And did you interview him during your investigation?
Yes.
So after talking to Danny Haynes, what then were you looking for in the telephone records?
Well, from what Danny Haynes
Not from what he said,
okay.
but what were you looking for in the telephone records when you get the telephone records?
I'm looking to see if Jan and Terry talked to each other at all that day.
Were you looking for a specific time?
Yes, anytime that day, because their stories, they're together all day.
Okay, but how did you figure out what his telephone number was if he said he didn't have his cell phone?
We didn't know his cell phone for sure until we got up on a wiretap.
Well,
And
but before that, you knew you had already tapped a telephone that you thought belonged to him. So by looking at Janet Britt's telephone records, what was it that clued you into what might be Terry Britt's telephone number?
It was the only number that called. It was the only number it called. And if he's calling every day at lunchtime, then there should be a record of that. And if he's making a phone call from the parking lot, then he's probably got a cell phone.
Okay. So based on that, you now have a telephone number that you think is Terry Britt's cell phone number. What do you do with that?
I got geolocate information. In other words, the same as I did with Holly's phone, find out where it was that entire day.
Okay. And I think their alibi was that they were together the entire day. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So knowing that that was their alibi, by looking at the phone records, what were you able to determine?
That their alibi was a lie.
Why?
Because 12/17, Britt calls.
Well, first of all, what kind of activity was on Mr. Britt's phone that morning?
I think we're getting into sort of some like cell phone expertise, and I think it's demonstrated.
We're not getting into that.
Right. No technical, but what kind of telephone calls were you able to?
Well, I think it's easily illustrated by what he just said. John. He said Britt called as if he can testify as to who has a telephone in their hand.
You can say from the telephone record.
From the telephone records, what were you able to determine?
The first call that
What records were that morning? First of all, what did the records show?
there was no incoming, outgoing calls that morning.
Okay.
So
When is the first call then?
12/17.
Okay. And what happens at that time?
Britt's cell phone communicates with an ex-wife, and Britt's story is that that's the first time he found out about the abduction of Holly Bobo.
Okay. And then what did you determine next regarding his alibi that he was with his wife all day long, Janet Britt?
His cell phone called Janet's cell phone and talked to it for 2 minutes and 56 seconds.
Okay. And so why did you suspect that? I mean, why did you find that significant?
Well, it's obvious that it's not true. So
What's not true?
his alibi is not true. It's fabricated.
Okay. So what else did you do to investigate his alibi from that day? Did Janet Britt, did they present you with any kind of physical documentation?
Janet Britt did not. At one point, one of our TBI agents and an FBI agent went out and spoke to Britt, and they attempted to. Britt contacted his wife, who came to the scene, and
Where were they at the time?
Janet was at work, and Terry Britt was at his house, 3138 Jeanette Holiday Road.
Okay.
So he's talking to him, and Britt says, "Hold on, let me call and get the receipt here." And they're like, but he calls, and she comes up there, shows him the receipt for a bathtub, which is what they supposedly bought that day.
And where was the receipt from?
It was from All Goods Salvage. It's a place in Benton County, just north of Decatur County.
Okay. And did you personally do anything then to try to check out that alibi at All Good Salvage?
Yes, I went and spoke to every employee from All Goods that was working that day. None of them could really remember Terry Britt.
Okay. Were you able to find anybody that could verify that he'd been in the store that day?
No, they had no surveillance video. They had no receipt that matched the receipt that they had showed.
Now explain that about no receipt that matched. What does that mean?
So they have these old timey receipts. Got a stack of them sitting on the desk.
Where does the stack sit?
They sit right on the desk by the cash register up front.
Okay.
So they have these stack of receipts, and whenever they make a sale, they'll pull off one of these receipts and write it up as what they've purchased. They'll undo it, give the customer one copy, and then they'll retain a copy, a carbon copy.
Okay. And so what did you ask All Goods Salvage to do for you?
I asked the accountant for All Goods. They'd already turned in the receipt to the accountant, and I asked them to pull the receipts and find out if there was a purchase of a bathtub on April 13th, 2011, or any time that week. So they pulled up the whole week, and there's no receipt to it.
So the carbon copy of the receipt that Terry Britt showed you, that was his alibi for where he had been that day, it was missing from the store's copies.
That's correct.
And did he present you with any other receipts from that day?
Now, well, let me correct you a little bit there. He didn't present me with any receipts.
Okay.
We got his receipts out of his safe when I did a search warrant in January of 2012. So he didn't actually give me the receipts. I took them.
Did they have a lot of receipts in the safe or just a few?
There were several receipts. I mean,
Were they from different days or just that day?
he had receipts from different days. There wasn't a whole lot of receipts, but there were a few in there.
Okay. And he had other receipts from that day also, didn't he?
Yes.
Okay. What do you remember what those other receipts were?
Yes, he had and this is another part of his alibi that's fabricated. His story is they got up, they went to All Good Salvage, they looked for bathtubs. They were worried about the price, so they decided to go to Buck's Building Supply in Parsons and check them out there. So they go to Parsons, they check out the bathtubs there.
Now, was it Parsons Building Supply? Decaturville.
Decaturville Building Supply, that's right. So they check them out there, then they go back to All Goods and purchase a bathtub. So they went to Camden twice that day. That's it. This other receipt was from an All Good, a discount bin, All Good discount bargain bin or something like that, where on that day, on April 13th, they had purchased some vinyl remnants. So that would have put it at 3 times of going to Benton County. So that was, when I interviewed Britt, that was something he just stared like, you got me. He had no answer for this. Because I said, was that possible? Did you go up there 3 times? Have you been lying all this time? No. Well, maybe you had the vinyl remnant in there with a bathtub. No, there's no way it would have fit. Okay, thank you.
So he denied going to All Goods All Goods discount on the 13th of April.
That's correct.
Although he had a receipt that showed he was at All Goods discount that day.
That's correct. And he was in Benton County that afternoon around 2:30 or so, buying gas at a gas station in Benton County.
So say that again, please.
He was we have a receipt from a credit card or debit card where he was in Benton County around 2:30. His cell phone shows that it was up there later on that afternoon on the day of the 13th.
Okay. Okay, so at that point, what did you do next?
At that point, let's see, I've already interviewed Jan's boss. I've already interviewed the person that had supposedly seen them that day on that Wednesday when they came in. The guy that was working there, that they left there. At that point, I began drafting a wiretap application to wiretap the home and the cars, the cell phones of the Brits, and I also drafted a search warrant application.
And before we get into that, what about the voice? Because I heard you say something earlier about he had a voice that matched. What did you do to try to identify his voice?
Okay, well that's in January. Okay, so we did the search warrant. We did we installed all the wiretap devices January 17th of 2012. Part of a wiretap, what you do is you monitor conversations, and then you need to stimulate it. You need to do something that gets them talking about what you want them to talk about. So part of that stimulation, January 25th or so, I asked to interview Britt. So I went through, at that point, recorded his voice, and went through the whole story with him that day. He had at an attorney's office. He'd hired an attorney, so we were there. And then after that, I let Clint listen to some audio recordings that had his voice in it.
Okay. And did Clint identify anybody when he listened to audio recordings?
Yeah, Clint had trouble distinguishing between Alan Snelling. If anybody knows him, he's got a deep voice. Our Mounds
And
does.
who is Alan Snelling?
He's a sergeant with the Savannah Police Department.
And was there any way he was a possible suspect in the disappearance of Holly Bobo?
No, he was at work that day, and he's about 5'8", 150, 60 pounds.
Okay.
So, and real short hair. So I let Clint listen to him, and he asked, "Is that the same voice 2 and 5?" And 5 was Britt, 2 was Alan Snelling. And I said, "No, I can't answer that. I just want you to tell me if you recognize the voice from that morning." And he says, "Well, they sound very similar. I can't distinguish them, but it's the same tone and the same pitch as what I heard that morning." Both voices. And at that point, the first time I let Clint listen to it, he kind of leaned more heavily on Alan Snelling than he did Britt. Well, I came back after I let him listen to this, because I recorded Britt saying, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be," basically the Miranda warnings. And then I went around to several police officers here in Savannah and said, "Read this for me. I need to have a voice identification," So that's what I did. Well, the second time I went there, I recorded a much longer story. So I had Alan Snelling basically repeat 10 or 11 minutes of the story that Terry Britt told.
This is a very long story for him to tell the story about how Clint Bobo couldn't identify anybody.
Okay. So the second time you did an extended voice test.
Correct.
What was the result of the second test?
Before the second test, I let him listen to the original recording again, and he leaned. He was fairly certain that it was Britt, the voice he heard. He listened to the entire thing, and he says, "Yes, I'm not absolutely certain, but I believe that's the voice I heard."
And did he give you a percentage of certainty?
I believe he said it was 80%. He was 80% sure, not absolutely certain, but
Okay. So then, in order to get the wiretap, now the wiretap was signed by the court, is that right?
correct.
And in order to get the wiretap, you put down multiple reasons why you had probable cause to believe that Terry Britt was involved in the disappearance of Holly Bobo.
Objective hearsay judge talking about reasons for the wiretap application.
There was an affidavit that was prepared, wasn't there?
Yes, ma'am.
And the standard to get a wiretap is probable cause, isn't it?
Probable cause on steroids is what we say.
Because to get a wiretap, you actually have to you have to show that other efforts were exhausted.
That's correct.
Um,
Or either exhausted or would be unfruitful.
So you filled out, or you did the affidavit and the application. What was the result of the wiretap?
The result of the wiretap is I found out that Janet Britt was not involved in the kidnapping of Holly Bobo.
Okay. When you did the wiretap, was there something that occurred on the wiretap that made you believe that Terry Britt suspected you might be listening to him?
Yes, he mentioned in the wiretap at the very beginning, what you say. I bet they bugged the house or bugged the area. And if I can explain that a little further,
Yes.
is it okay?
He testified to what he heard Mr. Britt say in the wiretap. And that's no non-objectionable, perfectly fine. But as far as getting into opinion testimony again, this would probably be addressed.
Well,
Oh.
I would simply explain how I was going to explain how he knew that, but that's all.
So we're not going into any technical aspects for opinion.
Okay. Okay. With the Am Farm video, were you able to do anything with the Am Farm video that you matched up pictures that you thought were indicative of Mr. Britt's activities on the day that Holly Bobo,
If I can, in the
Terry Britt suspected you might be listening to him?
yes, he mentioned in the wiretap at the very beginning, what you say. I bet they bugged the house or bugged the area. And if I can explain that a little further,
Yes.
is it okay?
He testified to what he heard Mr. Britt say in the wiretap. And that's no non-objectionable, perfectly fine. But as far as getting into opinion testimony again, this would probably be addressed.
Well,
Oh.
I would simply explain how I was going to explain how I knew that. Is it okay? And explain that a little further,
Yes.
is it okay?
He testified to what he heard Mr. Britt say in the wiretap. And that's no non-objectionable, perfectly fine. But as far as getting into opinion pending testimony again, this withdrawal
Okay.
will be addressed.
Well,
Oh.
I would simply explain how, I was going to explain how I knew that, but that's all.
Judge rule.
So we're not going into any technical aspects or opinion.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. With the Am Farm video, were you able to do anything with the Am Farm video?
What is she moving
where
on
you
for?
matched up
Oh my
pictures
God.
that you thought were indicative of Mr. Britt's activities on the day that Holly Bobo disappeared.
Yes.
What was that?
So Britt calls his ex-wife at 12:17. He called his wife at 12:20 or 12:21. So I looked at the Am Farm video to see if he's coming down south on 641 going towards where she works. And I found a champagne colored F-150 extended cab coming down Am Farm video right about the time, and I drove this several times, right about the drive time it would have taken to go from his house down to where that video is, and where the camera is.
Okay. Did you have a reason to believe that Terry Britt had changed his appearance after it came out that there was a witness to Holly Bobo's disappearance?
Yes.
What was that?
So I pulled all of Britt's photos from 34 years going back, and he's always had
What do you
them
mean
all.
his photos?
His photographs. Every time when you're in prison, they take photographs of you, intake and outtake, and I think they must take them some other times, but you know, we have a photograph of him with long hair, shoulder length hair, through all these times. Around the time of the kidnapping, according to several, 3 different people, he changed his appearance by cutting his hair off short. I don't know if it was before the kidnapping or after the kidnapping, but it was around that time.
And so also, where is Mr. Britt's residence located in relationship to where some of the evidence in this case was discarded?
It's basically at the geographic center of it. Northeast of Holly's house, probably 5 to 8 miles northeast of Holly's house.
Okay. And also, did you have reason to believe, or what did your investigation tell you about Mr. Britt's knowledge of the area where the items had been thrown out, where Holly's items had been thrown out along the road?
So the Yellow Springs Road, where the first item was thrown out, there used to be a trailer there. It was a friend of Britt's. They would go there quite frequently. So right in front of this trailer is where Holly's first receipt was thrown out.
Okay. And what about Mr. Britt being familiar with County Corner Road and the area of the cellular tower where her body was found?
Yeah. So Britt used to put $20 in gas in the car and drive around and drink all day. And that is one of the areas where they would go to quite frequently. There's no cops there. You never see a car there. We go, we would monitor the traffic and we'd see 1 or 2 cars for an hour, and that was it.
Okay. And did you check in with Mr. Britt's cohorts?
I did.
Okay. And after you did that, what kind of information did you learn from checking with them?
Here's,
It's not,
he can say what he did in response to it.
what did you do in response to the information that you learned from checking with his companions?
Are you referring to Skip and
Sure.
Hosteller? I don't know.
Rachel Jen, I really want to understand your comment. Tunnel vision on Britt, the offender would have been easier to pin it on. Can you flesh that out for me? I don't know what you're saying. You're saying that Dicus here had tunnel vision on Britt? But we're watching Zach Adams' trial. Flesh that out for me, if you would.
No, we just kept trying to gather more information. We did. I did conduct a specific search at New Prospect Cemetery, which is right up there on the route of where her cell phone traveled.
Okay. And Okay, at some point, did you confront Terry Britt about stalking these women?
I did.
And what was the result after you confronted him with that?
That was probably that was a huge mistake because he threatened 2 of the women that he had been stalking after I confronted him with all the information that I had that he was stalking other women. I didn't tell him any names or where they worked or anything, but unfortunately he knew he had been stalking. So he followed one of them home, stopped in the middle of the road and stared at her. The other one, we got surveillance video that she worked at the radio shack right beside an Ace Hardware. They were connected, owned by the same people, had the same door. So he's in Ace Hardware staring at her. He goes and buys something for 60 cents, then goes back, stares at her again. Yeah, that was a huge mistake. I should have never said that.
Okay, at some point then, did you get a search warrant to search his home?
I did. That was actually before I confronted him. We did the
Okay.
search warrant before we ever confronted him.
Okay, and so what did you find when you searched his home?
Well, all kinds of stuff. I mean, we found videos on his computers. We found
So let's talk about the videos on his computer. Okay, what kind of videos did you find on his computers?
There's one thing, I don't believe Mr. Dicus is the agent who extracted any sort of videos from Mr. Computer.
Then he won't be getting this one.
Well, but Your Honor, it was all part of the case file and he
Doesn't
reviewed
make any
these.
difference. If it's hearsay, it's still hearsay.
It's coming from it's not hearsay, it's coming from Mr. Britt's computer.
It's what someone told him was in the computer.
Okay. I'd like to pass these images up and have you just identify them as images that you recognize as having come from Mr. Britt's computer.
Again, he's going to be relying on information he got from.
Okay, it's the collective knowledge doctrine. What the fuck is happening here? If he's reviewed other cops' work, it's then become collective knowledge, and you're allowed to testify on it.
somebody else.
Well, I want him to identify this.
He can be asked if he recovered these.
Okay.
If someone else recovered, then it's not competent testimony.
Did you, did you review a report that was made after the extraction?
I think you directed her exactly what question should be, and she didn't ask it. Did you recover this?
Did you recover these?
Did you
If
recover-
you didn't, then it's not competent.
Well, I can't pass him the images yet.
He knows whether or not he recovered any images, right? You did.
Did you recover any images off of the computer?
Did I?
Yes.
No.
Was there a search done of his computer at the same time you searched his house?
Yes.
Where this computer was seized?
Correct.
Okay.
Several computers were seized.
And then they were sent to the lab, is that right?
That's correct.
And after that came back, did you ever discuss that material with Terry Britt?
I did.
And did he deny that any of that belonged to him, or did he acknowledge it?
He couldn't stop looking at it.
He what?
He could not stop looking at it,
Okay,
but he did not deny it.
okay. So anyway, you said you found videos on his computer. What else did you find at his house?
We recovered probably 100 items altogether. We found, we had more dogs there. These dogs were human decomposition dogs. We recovered a shovel, a couple of hammers, and an axe that had been out in one of his storage sheds. And the dogs alerted to them as being around the scent of human decomposition. And 2 of his vehicles alerted to that as well. We got the receipts.
So now
We got cell phones. I mean,
I'd like to pass forward to you the photograph. Now, do you recognize that photograph?
yes, ma'am. These are the antique,
Antique?
correct. Well, that's antique, yeah.
So,
Antique items at the Brits.
and I'd like to have this been marked as an exhibit.
The exhibit, 220.
Now, I'd like to show this to you. Can you please describe
Oh, you're gonna have to, let's have to see.
describe for the jury what what these items are. I'm going to zoom in so you can see some of them a little better. What are these items?
This is a hammer.
Yes.
This is a axe. This is a shovel.
A shovel.
And this is a, you have to forgive me, I'm not exactly a man on it, but I believe that would be considered a hammer too.
Okay. And why was it that you were referring to these things as being antiques?
Because after we took them, I was constantly requested to get them back to them because they were antiques. They've been in the family forever.
Did they appear to you to be antiques?
Again, I don't know what an antique shovel looks like. I'm sorry.
And who was requesting that get it back?
Janet Britt.
And did you ever return it to her?
I don't remember.
And I wanted to ask you also, in the description that you got of the person that possibly took, or the description of the person that walked away with Holly Bobo, was the person compared to anybody else? Do you remember there being a comparison
Yes.
from Clint Bobo?
Yeah, Clint said that the guy was built just like his cousin Richie Pratt. So we carried, and Holly and Miss Karen were the same height. So we carried Miss Karen and Richie Pratt, basically the same area that Clint saw. We tried to measure the height. So Clint's saying the guy's a little bit shorter than Richie Pratt. So we did some surveillance on Terry Britt. We took some pictures of him as he's walking in and out at the newsletter. And we also had Mr. Richie Pratt walk through at the same area, and we took pictures of them to compare side by side.
Okay. And I just passed you two pictures. What do you recognize these two pictures as being?
Okay, this is one picture of Terry Britt, one picture of Richie Pratt taken in the back parking lot of the newsletter.
Okay. And will you hand me the picture of Richie Pratt first? I'd like to have this marked as an exhibit. And then my next exhibit of Terry Britt. First, I'm going to put up this picture here. Now, who is this a picture of?
That is Mr. Richie Pratt. He is a cousin of the Bobos.
Okay. Now, who is this a picture of?
That is Mr. Terry Lee Britt.
Okay. And just for the record, Terry Britt is the one that has on the shorts in the picture. Is that right?
That's correct.
Was that another factor that you looked at when you were considering that Mr. Britt might be involved in this?
Yes.
Hey, did you recover any Xerox copies, just to kind of speed things along? Did you recover any Xerox copies at the Britt's home that you found suspicious or odd?
Not that I
How
remember.
about from a yearbook?
Yeah, okay. That one of the lady that I told you that worked at Radio Shack, they had a locked shed in the back, and
Who's they?
Jan and Terry had a locked shed behind their house, and in this shed, in a carpenter's binder, the one that they flip up, in that they had a picture of this girl highlighted, Nicole N.A.
Okay, and so this picture that they had of her, where did it come from?
It came from the newsletter where Jan worked.
And why would her picture have been in the newsletter?
I believe she had gotten a scholarship or graduated from high school, something like that.
Okay. Did you ever come across a reason why Holly's photograph would have been in the newsletter?
Yes, when she graduated, she was in there too. Got a $500 scholarship for something.
And
It
this
makes
person, this NA that you said her photograph from her yearbook was Xerox, is that the same way that it appeared in the newsletter, her yearbook photograph?
I believe so.
And so do you remember what school she went to in relationship to Holly?
I think she went to Riverside, the same school. Or it might have been Scotts Hill.
Okay.
It's one of the two.
Okay,
There's only two, so it might have been Scotts Hill.
okay.
I know the other lady that I was talking to you about, she went to the other school. She went to Riverside, the lady that he followed home.
And the pink underwear that was found kind of near Shayne Austin's trailer. Did you have a working theory on why that pink underwear was found outside his trailer?
Questions, all right, go.
Did you have a working theory as to why that underwear was found there?
My theory, after we figured out that it wasn't Holly's, was that someone was cleaning out their car, and there was another pair of another woman's underwear in there, and they grabbed them and threw them out just going down the road. That was my theory.
And was it related at all to the materials that belonged to Holly?
No.
When you said cleaning out their car, that means just a litter bug threw them there?
Yeah, well, so the route that Holly's cell phone probably traveled, as best we can tell, is certainly when you do the drive times and you do the cell pings and all this, the route that she traveled at around 9 o'clock, she's going down Yellow Spring. The abductor is going down Yellow Springs Road, 902, 905. He's going down that time. So at that point, my theory is he's throwing stuff out, getting ready to go back home. Or
What stuff out?
He's throwing out her.
And who's her?
Okay. The abductor is throwing out Holly's receipts. He's throwing out the panties that just happened to be in the vehicle because they dealt with another girl. He continues on the route till he gets to the creek on Gooch Road, where he throws out the majority of the stuff that he doesn't plan on keeping. He throws out her lunchbox. He throws out her
Notebook, does he
notebooks,
throw
her notebooks, her book, throws out all this stuff. And, my working theory is at that time, Holly was dead.
Okay, and so why is it that you thought that by the time the abductor threw out the lunchbox, Holly would have been dead?
His opinion that we spent way too much time talking about theories and things.
No. Objection sustained. Anybody in the world can have a theory or speculate.
I know, but he's the lead agent on the case, Your Honor, directing the investigation, and his.
But not,
Okay, about the palm print that was found on the Mustang. Did you all test Terry Britt's palm print?
I don't remember that. I thought we did. Maybe we didn't.
He was not excluded, was he?
That's right. He was not excluded but he wasn't. They didn't say it was his, but they said they couldn't say that it might have been.
Also, did you find any connection between Zach Adams and Clint Bobo
No,
in your investigation?
none.
Did you find any evidence at all that led you to believe that Zach Adams and Clint Bobo had been meth buddies?
That's ridiculous. No.
Why would that be ridiculous?
Object to his opinion and his theories.
What evidence?
We talked to everybody that Clint Bobo knows, everybody that Holly Bobo knows, Miss Karen, Dana, everybody. And the information we had on drug use from the Bobos was simply that Clint had smoked marijuana 3 times in his life, the last time in 2008. Okay.
So there was no evidence, though, that he had been involved in drugs.
Not one person told us that.
And did you know what his current job was in the spring of 2011?
He worked for a nursing home company that had several different nursing homes, and he was a counselor. So he would go in and work at one nursing home one day and then go to a different one on a different day.
And so do you know whether or not he was drug tested in relation to that job?
I don't.
What about Natalie Bobo and Zach Adams? Did you find any connection between those two in your investigation?
I believe there was a connection between Natalie. I believe there was a connection between Natalie and Zach, or we had information there was,
Okay,
that at one point in time they'd had a relationship.
but when you investigated that, did it lead to anything? Did you ever uncover any evidence that there was, in fact, a relationship?
I don't.
You said yes. You said yes to that
Well,
question.
I think he said that he got tips, right? He
They
said,
had information.
okay, did you check out that information and did it turn out to be accurate?
Well, the only way we can check that out is by looking at their cell phone and see if they talk. Okay, asking them, hey, have you had something to do with him?
And did you find any records on their cell phone that they had been talking with one another?
Not that I recall.
And a matter of fact, did you investigate Natalie Bobo with regard to the disappearance?
No,
Well, did you do a preliminary investigation of her?
we interviewed her. We checked out, other people that.
So she was ruled out as a suspect. We
have a witness that said it was a man. What What do you want me to tell you? I mean, she
Okay,
was
I
ruled
just-
out as a suspect, yes.
Okay. just
In
wanted-
reality, she was ruled out as a suspect.
Okay, very good. If I can have a minute, Your Honor. And are you familiar with people that are chronic meth users? You've come into contact with them, haven't you?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, and people that are chronic meth users, have you ever heard the term meth bugs? What is meth bugs?
So it's actually not bugs. It's a phenomenon. There's a chemical in meth that makes people parts of their body dehydrate. So when they dehydrate, it looks like first it looks kind of like a pimple, but
Like a what?
a pimple is
Okay.
it, and then it feels like it itches. It feels like something's crawling in you. It's my education and information. I've never experienced this, but it feels like a mites. They call it mites. So they scratch it. They scratch that area where they're itching, and it's usually on their face. And if y'all ever seen the before and after pictures of meth heads, yeah, that's a lot of what you see on their face is this thing called formication, and it's basically a dehydrating of an area of their body,
Okay.
which
And-
causes it to itch.
And people that are on meth, do they tend to pick at their scabs and things?
Yes,
And why is that?
because their skin feels like it's crawling. It just feels like it's crawling, and there's actually some people that will pick at it and eat the scab because that chemical is in the scab.
What
That-
chemical?
I don't know the chemical, but it's one of the it's whatever gets you high from the meth. So it's there right there at that sore. They pick it and eat it, and they get a little bit of high out of it.
So you're saying it's almost like there's a little meth in the scab that they eat and get high from?
Well, not all of them, but there are people that do that. Yeah.
Okay. And I wanted to pass up some photographs to you. You testified that you had pulled,
These are old looking photographs of Terry Brett from the 80s and 90s, just like she tried to pull an old looking photo of Jason Autry. They have absolutely no relevance at all.
he specifically said that he pulled old photos from 30 years. I want to pass this.
Concerning change of appearance.
Yes.
Are we getting close to concluding?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So I'd like to pass the, and there's one more. I'd like to pass these photographs up to you. See if these are in fact the booking photographs that you were talking about, that you reviewed regarding changing his appearance. Just one more. I'm sorry,
The last one isn't even, it's a small picture on the booking report,
not a booking
talking
photo.
about something from 10 years ago, 15 years.
And I'm going to pass a teeny tiny little picture that I've torn off of the report. Are these the pictures that you reviewed to see that he had had a change in appearance?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't understand the question. Change in appearance from the 80s? That's what you were looking at?
That's all right. Collectively, 223, move on.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, let's take recess. Follow the admonitions of the absent.
All right. We will pick up cross of one Terry Dicus tomorrow. I'm interested to see how that goes. I mean, I don't know if I'm the state. I'm going to keep it pretty brief. You know, you don't want to give it any oxygen by fighting it too much. You just say, well, ultimately, Terry Britt wasn't arrested, correct? You know, I am interested to know why Dicus left. Curious to hear that. I mean, he clearly had a differing opinion as to who did this, clearly. So, you know, I have a feeling he was probably made to be I got to get his contact. I hit up Katie for her to send it to me, but I'll work on him. But yeah, I think I'll probably go live around the same time tomorrow, and we'll plow through some more of it. How many days was the defense's case in chief? I mean, this guy was a powerful witness. Truly. Yeah, I'm irritated that she didn't fight harder. And I don't know what pretrial motions were filed with respect to the shit that was on Terry Britt's computer. But usually collective knowledge doctrine applies to Fourth Amendment issues where you're trying to establish probable cause. And can you know, so here we obviously have an affidavit and a search warrant that had taken place. I think that there was an argument there that could have been made that whether or not he's the one who recovered the data from his computer, if it was reduced to writing in a report and he's familiar with it, he can testify to it. And I don't know if Thompson calls whoever pulled that shit from his computer, because it was some disturbing shit. So I don't know. 2 days, and the second day, 2 rebuttal witnesses. So they send the case to jury. So we're getting close. All right. So you consider this to be the first day, right? Here, I can actually just look at the playlist here. Let's see what the deal is. So we got Dicus, Dick Adams, U.S. Marshal John Walker, Jonathan Reeves, and then closings. All right. Yeah, we're bulk of the way. We've got about an hour left of this. So I don't know if they call somebody after Dicus, but we will get at it tomorrow for sure. I'm looking forward to it. All right, mods, I love you so very much. Thank you for those of you that sent donos. We appreciate that always. And for all of you guys out there that are new to the channel, or long timers, or even short timers, just remember this. We adore you. I adore you, because without you, I'd just be an old man talking about a lot of cases. See you tomorrow.